Today, Israel's ambassador to the U.S. saying no self-respecting country in the world would tolerate such an attack, and neither will Israel.
That's ABC's Karen Waugh. Iran's Revolutionary Guard said it attacked air bases in southern Israel. In Iran, Israel hit a petrochemical company and air defense systems and weapons. Well, who couldn't see this one coming? Spencer Pratt has fallen into third place in the excruciatingly slow count of votes in Los Angeles. Nithya Raman is now roughly 3,000 votes ahead. The world's biggest New York Knicks fan is going to the game tonight. President Trump will attend, and that means that there'll be some changes to security. Here's ABC's Sophie Flay.
No bags will be allowed, and fans are being told to arrive at least 2 hours before tip-off to pass through the TSA-style screening. Trump returning to his hometown to become the first sitting president to attend the NBA Finals.
I think the Knicks have an amazing team the way they played.
On Friday, thousands of Knicks fans celebrating the team's Game 2 win. Police arresting more than 24 people. One person accused of punching a police officer in the face multiple times.
Also concerns after a random stabbing at Penn Station last night that injured 5 people. A homeless man has been arrested. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management online at beaconcm.com. With a look at this week's Wall Street action, here's Dave Packer.
Looking at the economic calendar for the week ahead, on Tuesday, we'll get May numbers on existing home sales from the National Association of Realtors. That number expected to rise to 4.08 million from 4.02 million the month before. Wednesday, important inflation data from May with the release of the Consumer Price Index from the Labor Department. These are some of the most closely watched figures for the Federal Reserve as it assesses inflation and interest rates. Weekly jobless claims on Thursday, the street looking at 225,000. That would be unchanged from the week before. On Thursday, we'll also get PPI data for May, which will give us a glimpse at inflation at the wholesale level. Analysts are expecting a monthly drop in costs of 0.7%. And on Friday, SpaceX is set to launch the largest initial public offering in history. The listing on the NASDAQ, the goal to raise $75 billion. Share price fixed by the company at $135, making for a valuation of over $1.77 trillion. Dave Packer, ABC News.
And Dow futures right now down 56, but NASDAQ futures up 195. S&P futures are plus 24. That's the latest news. Traffic is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Some minor delays on 24 heading in the Jolton area this morning, but it's looking good on all the other roadways. 24 checks out okay, and so does 40. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.506 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And welcome on into your Monday, June 8th of 2026. You know, Joan, I hate to, just start out the radio program talking about how you and I were right.
About what were we right about now?
Two things. We are the official prognosticators of Nashville's Morning News. Number one, we both predicted that Spencer Pratt would fall into third place in the L.A. mayor's race.
You knew it would happen.
And we also both kind of joked about Donald Trump saying that we could possibly have a deal with Iran this weekend.
Yeah.
Instead, Iran, of course, bombing Israel and Israel returning fire. So not a whole lot of surprise on this Monday morning. There is also I'm going to blow through some headlines real quick. So we have Vice President J.D. Vance, and he is commenting on the horrible story out in the UK of Henry Nowak. We all know that Henry Nowak is the guy that was stabbed to death by one of these Sikhs in the UK. So you've got the Vice President of the United States calling that out, saying that people should absolutely be horrified at this situation. Do you know that I think it's a member of the parliament there in the United Kingdom came out and chastised Vice President Vance for commenting on this story? So we're going to talk about that here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A couple of other headlines real quick. We also have the Carmelo Anthony trial continues in Frisco, Texas, McKinney, Texas. And so that is, they do Friday, of course, after we got off the air. I think they do court on Saturday as well. Bottom line, though, is that they had like 5 or 6 different witnesses, the prosecution did, that came out and completely blew any possible self-defense claim out of the water, because all of them came and said, some from different schools, by the way, came and said that clearly Austin Metcalf did not want to fight Carmelo Anthony. And he was actually trying to de-escalate the situation. And Carmelo Anthony just decided to pull out a knife. Obviously, we all know what happened. Pull out a knife and plunged it into the heart of Austin Metcalf. Did you actually see, Joan, what they did, the prosecution did during the trial?
No.
They pulled out a photo of Austin Metcalf's heart.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's what they did.
One juror was in visible tears. She kind of broke down in the juror box.
It is important that they did that because they need to see what this kid did, what Carmelo Anthony did. He doesn't deny that he stabbed Austin Metcalf. But the question is, was it self-defense?
Self-defense, right.
And clearly, at least in my opinion, it was not self-defense. So they're going through. You still got the knuckleheads outside that are, protesting the whole thing, which is fine. That's what they're going to do. So we'll cover that for you as well. 6:35. I'm really looking forward to Hans von Spakovsky. He's going to be joining us on the LA elections and possible voter fraud. Oh, by the way, Kirsten Welker getting her butt handed to her by Donald Trump. I got to tell you,
I loved that moment.
I loved this moment. You know what my big controversy on this is that I had a number of different people on Sunday telling me about this, and I very much appreciate it. I didn't know. I don't watch this stuff in real time. But they're saying that Donald Trump looked oranger than usual, more orange, whatever. So what the accusation is that NBC made Donald Trump look more orange. Now, I've seen some clips that make Donald Trump look more orange. I've seen other clips where he doesn't look as orange. Now, whatever. I mean, I don't know how orange he was, how orange NBC made him, if other people corrected the orange on their own clips. I don't know. And I don't know. Do you think this is like a big part of the controversy, Joan? Like, I don't I'm sort of like, whatever. I mean, if NBC truly did make Donald Trump look more orange, I don't know why they would do that, except they're trying to purposely make Donald Trump look like he wants to be orange. I don't know.
It's so juvenile. I mean, they've been doing it for years, right? It's been years they've been doing this.
If they did purposely make him look more orange, which I think he looks better, I'm on record as saying that I think that Donald Trump looks better just looking normal and not going into the tanning spray tan thing or whatever the hell it is that he does. But whatever. I do like that he did push back on Kirsten Welker. You've seen this, by the way, right, Joan? So we'll go over this at 5:35, a little bit of sort of play-by-play, because is it just me and we'll get into this, because I do need to get into the Iran stuff, but is it just me, or does Kirsten Welker, she actually looks manic? When she goes in and she is interviewing Donald Trump, she looks manic. And so if I was, like doing a drinking game where I would take a drink every single time that she said, there's no evidence, there's no evidence, there's no evidence, I'd be drunk 5 minutes in. And I think that she goes in there, and I believe that what she's trying to do is she's trying to provoke the president. That's what it feels like to me. Or what she's trying to do is she is trying to try to prove her journalistic bona fides by pushing back against Donald Trump by saying there's no evidence. And I'm air quoting when I say no evidence, because I mean, and we'll go over it at 5:35, but all you got to do is use common sense and say, really? So, for example, in Los Angeles, you had Nathia Rahman, who was way, way down in third place. She wasn't even close in the polling and so forth. And on the day of the election, she was way down in third place. Then all of a sudden, here come all of these ballots, right? Just a crush of mail-in ballots. And suddenly, magically, out of nowhere, Joan, she has now surpassed Spencer Pratt and is now in second place.
Gosh, who would have thought that could happen?
As predicted by yours truly. It was so obvious to me. Like, I knew this was going to happen, because there's no way that the Democrats would allow Spencer Pratt to debate Karen Bass, because he annihilated her the first time around.
Yeah.
So there's nothing surprising in the news today. Hey, Joan, you ever heard of the clouded leopard?
No.
So the clouded leopard is a leopard that is being bred over there at the Nashville Zoo.
Oh, yeah.
And so apparently the clouded leopard is really sensitive to light and noise pollution. And so they've got like 50 of them, apparently. They've bred 50 at the Nashville Zoo. And here comes this massive data center that is going to be built. Apparently, they're talking about this adjacent to the Nashville Zoo. So now there's a big issue with this data center, because the 3,000 plus animals at the zoo, they're going to have to contend with the data center that has all kinds of light and noise pollution. They're saying that it will actually really harm the animals at the zoo. And so now the question is, and there's a online petition, 305,000 people have signed this online petition to block the data center from being built at the zoo. Now, they can still block this. Local lawmakers can still block this if they can. So I'm going to speak to, at 8:05, Courtney Johnston, Metro City Council. It is actually her district that is having to deal with this possible new data center. So the clouded leopard and all the other animals there, they would apparently, according to the zoo, be harmed by all of this. They're also worried about the fact that over there at the zoo, they've got a brand new exhibit going in. You know what it is, Joan?
What is it?
It is the animals of Indonesia.
Well,
they got orangutans, they got clouded leopards, and some of these other things. $65 million. And now they're worried that, again, all of these animals are going to be impacted by the big data center. So we have and I'm sort of can I just be honest? Like I don't feel strongly either way on this. We need AI. If there is another place to build this thing where it's not like on top of all of these animals, and people love the zoo, right? People really do love the zoo. And it's a great zoo. You've been to the zoo, Joan?
No, you know what? I haven't been there yet.
Joan Jones, and you call yourself well, you don't call yourself a national. You call yourself a Tennessean.
Right. I will make it a point to get to the zoo.
They've got the leopard, the cloudy leopard over there, Joan. So anyway, but we did do a Daily Dan poll. The Daily Dan poll is, should they build the data center next to the Nashville Zoo? If you watch us on YouTube, watch us on Facebook, watch us on 99.7 WTO, watch us anywhere you can watch. But on YouTube, you can take the Daily Dan poll. What are people saying thus far, 16 minutes into the radio broadcast?
85% say no.
85%. I don't think, does this, Sam and Joan, does this fall under left versus right? I don't think it does.
No.
I don't think it does.
There's a running conspiracy on the internet now that all this, it's propaganda to not want data centers built, and people are seeing them originate from accounts in like Bangladesh and in India. I mean, it's like the space race. If you've listened to anyone talk about this is who's going to get to the highest model first, and we need the capacity of these data centers to do that. So
Joan brought up a really interesting point. Joan, go. Okay. I loved what you said before the show.
This is it's Neville Singham is the person who is the organizer of the Singham Networks. Singham Networks is there's people behind Code Pink and some news networks that are actually linked, not actually, like totally and completely funded by China. And what China is trying to do is to, run these news stories through the Singham Networks and through Code Pink that say, these data centers are bad. They're not good. You should be against them. And they're funding the animosity to our data centers. But what China's trying to do is to stop the U.S. from being number one in the AI, the race to dominate AI.
The AI race. And so China, if I'm...
It's not, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's a theory that might have a conspiracy attached to it, but it is a theory. And I think that there's a good argument for it.
Yeah, but then how do you... See, this is where it goes, though, Joan, right? So how do you know that that's not the Republicans... or people that are like pro-data center that are trying to blame China for the negative publicity when the reality is there are a lot of concerns. I mean, let's be honest. There is a lot of concerns.
You just said, though, that it's not a right or left issue.
Well, okay, that's true. So I should rewind that and say the people that are pro-big data centers.
Okay.
So if there are people that are pro-big data centers and they want to discount the pushback, then maybe they just say, well, this is China behind all of the pushback. Well, I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. There's legit concerns about these data centers. So, but
there was legit concerns about testing and building a nuclear bomb, but you want to be first to do it.
You do want to be first to do it. So, but Sam, what about the clouded leopard?
I could give a leopard's behind.
Wow.
The clouded leopard's not going to stop China.
Here's my question. No, that's true.
You uncultured swine.
You are an uncultured swine. What about the clouded leopard, Sam?
I don't care. What has a clouded leopard done for me? Ever ask yourself that question? No. You're asking what you can do for the clouded leopard.
I really don't care about the clouded leopard. But you know what it is, though, Joan? It's a legit, local topic.
Yeah, for sure.
So I want to talk about it.
So there's 200,000 people that have signed a petition against the one at the zoo.
Actually, well, I just looked it up 5 minutes ago.
Oh, and?
305,000.
Nice. I mean, honestly, there's a definite groundswell against it. There's also one
by the way, are they all Chinese names? Sorry. Go ahead, Joan.
There's also a data center being proposed for Fisk University. And there's more pushback on that one, too. That's right in the middle of Nashville, very residential kind of area. So there's a lot. There's a lot happening. In McMinnville, there's now a 2-year moratorium against data centers.
Well, one of the things, Joan, that I'm going to ask John Rose is that because he's going to come in the 7 o'clock hour, and we're going to talk about exactly that. Remember a while ago, I said to John Rose, hey, will you come back and just talk about Tennessee issues? And so today is that day. And so he's going to be in studio 7 o'clock, and we're going to talk Tennessee issues, and I'm going to ask him about the data centers. By the way, 0164 says, Dan, have you lost your mind? Why do we need AI? We need AI. If we don't lead in AI, then we're going to lose the AI race. And you don't want China to be the lead in anything. And plus, if you want to embrace the future, then we need to embrace AI. But we need to do it smart. We need to do it in a way where we are able to coexist with AI and coexist with these data centers.
Well, and if people are sick of it, we kind of like are the world's police to a degree, and we need to be the holders of certain things. We were the first in the space race. We were first in the nuclear race. And we kind of have to keep the momentum here because, the battlefield has shifted. It is no longer about really dropping bombs on people. It's about information. It's about data mining. It's about being able to collapse infrastructure with computer coding and AI-generated viruses and all that stuff. And you want to be able to be on the other side of being able to combat it.
So 9657 says, embrace the future, ban AI. I get the concerns about AI, but it's here. I don't know what else to tell you, 9657. 4004, Nashville Zoo sucks. I like the Nashville.
Yeah,
whatever.
I saw that.
Yeah,
I was
whatever.
surprised to see that.
Anyway, so we have Courtney Johnston, that is her district. And so she is going to be on with us to talk about whether or not there should be an AI data center built next to the zoo. So we've got a lot going on this Monday morning. Also, a flash flood watch. We forgot to do traffic. Is there anything going on in traffic, Joan?
No. Oh, yeah. Okay. I see it now. The reason there was a delay on 24 eastbound lanes in Jolton is because of a crash near exit 35. It's stop and go traffic from that spot. It's not a crash. It's actually overnight road work. I'm just starting to read into this. Road work on 24 eastbound of the Jolton area. They're going to be picking that up soon. So it's slow right now. That should clear away within a half hour or so.
We got a flash flood watch for all of Middle Tennessee. Possible storms this morning, clearing by this afternoon, and a high of 83. So these are just like pop-up storms there, Joan?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I was watching Stefano this morning, and he was talking about how you're going to see storms in some areas. Some places aren't going to see any storms, and you're going to go, what was he talking about? Well, they're in just pop-up storms in very specific areas. But where they do pop up, it'll be heavy rain, and it could cause flash flooding.
Very good. 5294 says, Dan, I almost said the F word. Haha. Did I almost say the F word?
Yeah.
Did I?
Did you?
Yeah, you
No,
were
I
trying
didn't.
to.
I
I'm
didn't
dead
notice
serious.
What did I do?
You were going to say flash flood warning, but you lacked the L.
Oh, all right.
Well, that would be food. Get it?
Listen, the weekend I had a flash food warning as well. I had a lot of chips and salsa. Do you know what we bought?
I know
Joan?
what you bought.
What
I saw it.
So Amy,
You're slushy.
I can't do this now. I got spoken to about my clock management. I've got to be on time today. Don't let me get off time, Sam
This'll
and
be
Joan.
fun.
I know. Anyway, we'll talk a little bit about what we bought this weekend. It was some flash food warnings because we had the munchies. Let's just put it that way. All right, 524. Joan's got the news at 5:30. Joan.
Yeah, exchange of missile fire between Iran and Israel this morning. Looks like that ceasefire is kind of kaput. We'll check it out here coming up at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, Graham Plattner's been caught in another lie. I cannot imagine being a Democrat and still supporting this guy. So this was over the weekend. He had a little fundraiser and a rally.
My health care gave me freedom. It gave me the freedom to take a risk, to start a business, and to sink my intellect and my physicality into mastering the skills necessary to make a living on the sea.
Right. So he's been saying all this time that he is an oyster farmer.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, according to the Free Beacon, he actually lives off of his VA benefits and the home that he lives in.
Yeah.
His father gave him the money.
Also, while he might be an oyster farmer, in quotes, he has one customer. It's his mother's restaurant.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Go look it up. Yep.
Well done, Joan Jones. Yeah. And they're still going to support. It doesn't matter. I did the whole thing on Friday. We're talking about how the Democrats, they just don't care. The Democrats will support the absolute worst people imaginable if it means that they'll be able to regain power in the Senate. The Democrats, they just simply have no bottom. It is 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We've got scattered thunderstorms this morning, and Stefano tells us that they could cause some flooding problems around here.
Some of these storms are going to have very heavy rainfall. You step outside this morning, you're going to feel how humid it is out there. There's a lot of moisture in the atmosphere these storms can use to bring torrential rainfall, which could eventually cause flash flooding.
Now, all of Middle Tennessee is under a flash flood watch. Some areas won't see any rain at all, he says. Our high is a muggy 83 degrees. And there's a warning, too, not to drive through flooded out roads today. Israel and Iran exchanging fire in waves of attacks for the first time since April, upending the ceasefire there. Iran was the first to strike, anger that Israel is defending itself against strikes from Hezbollah in Lebanon. Israel hit multiple targets in western and central Iran, including surface-to-surface missile launch sites. Locally, petitions against a proposed AI data center near the zoo attracting some 300,000 signatures now. Channel 4's Braden Ross on what's behind the anger over this particular data center.
One of those proposals comes from a company called DC Blocks, which is looking to build a nearly 70,000 square foot data center in a business park right next door to the Nashville Zoo. On Wednesday, the zoo launched an online petition against the project, which has racked up more than 280,000 signatures to date. And Saturday, country star Brad Paisley added his name to that list and took to social media to call the proposal a, quote, nightmare scenario.
Now, DC Blocks has responded. It says it uses closed loop or waterless cooling designs to conserve water, and it will test and manage noise and shield any light fixtures. That is the latest news. Stick around for your traffic next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Well, you got that road work still being picked up on 24 eastbound side. It's the stop and go traffic is between the Cheatham-Davidson County line all the way to Whites Creek Pike. That's exit 35 where the road work is this morning. In Madison, east Old Hickory Boulevard, west of Larkin Springs Road, watching that area for a crash. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.537, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends and welcome on in. It is Monday. It is June 8th. By the way, also, this is my last Monday for a couple of weeks, Joan.
Why is that?
Because I'm going to the beach next week. So I'm on vacation next week. So Brian Wilson's going to be filling in.
Nice.
And so now we will not be taking my alcohol machine with us, although we did debate it. Actually, so we go to Walmart just real quickly, and then we're going to get to Kirsten Welker and Donald Trump. We go to Walmart, as we typically do just about every weekend, and I can't find Amy. I have no idea. She's just like disappeared. So I'm looking around, and then I thought, I know where she's at, because the last time we were at Walmart, I found her in front of the alcohol machines. So I go and I found her in front of this machine. I don't even know how to describe it, except to say that it is a machine that you put all kinds of like juices and alcohol and rum, lots and lots of rum, and you can make alcohol rum drinks in it.
Can I just tell you, you are so skewed on this issue.
Why?
Because you can put non-alcohol stuff in there too. In fact, that's called a Ninja Slushie machine, by the way.
Thank you, Joan, for telling me what I bought. I had no idea. Go ahead.
You can put anything in it. And as a matter of fact, yesterday, we used one at a party, and we actually took watermelon and used fresh watermelon to make a slushie that had 0 alcohol in it. So, you don't, like, everything is not alcohol, Dan.
I tell it to my wife. Yes, Sam.
Do you need running shoes to run?
Yeah.
Well, not technically. You could run without shoes, right?
Okay.
I'm just saying. Alcohol in the slushie is like, you could have it without that, but it would just be less fun.
Well, I mean, we were using it for a 3-year-old's birthday party, so,
Oh, well, in the South, that's a common thing to do at a 3-year-old's birthday party.
Maybe where you go to birthday parties. I've not been to a birthday party where they have all kinds of alcohol.
Oh, gosh.
No.
Maybe it's just my family.
It
Maybe
could
we have
be,
that
Sam.
gene.
And it maybe explains a little bit. Hey, so can we talk about Donald Trump and Kirsten Welker?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to play some audio just to kind of set this up. He made headlines over the weekend, deciding that he had had enough of the questioning from Kirsten Welker, NBC. So in looking at the questioning, Joan, it started out as a discussion about a number of different things, but I think that she was argumentative and aggressive. Like he had just had it. So it started out with a discussion of the weaponization fund and what the Biden administration did to the J6ers. This is part of the conversation.
What they did to the lives of people, they destroyed people. They sent people to jail who did nothing wrong.
All right, just to be very clear, there's no evidence of what you're saying. But
There's
let me
a
ask
lot
you
of
about
evidence.
Todd Blanche. Let me ask you about
Listen
Todd
to me.
Blanche.
Listen to me.
Let's talk
There's
about Todd
tremendous evidence. There's nothing but
not been
evidence. The
presented in
election
a
was
court of
rigged.
law.
It was a dirty election.
Mr.
And it's
President,
happening again right now in
never
California.
presented evidence
It's happening
that the
right
2020
now in
election was
California.
rigged.
Right now, look at what's
Where's
happening
the
in
evidence
California.
to that?
It's
The
4
Republicans
days.
are doing well in
California. No, they're not. They're dropping fast because it's a rigged election. Let me tell you, it's 4 days, and they aren't even close to coming up with it.
That's how they count
You know
the
why they're
votes in
doing that? Because
California.
they're cheating on the election.
Do you have evidence to support
All I have
that?
to do is look. All I have to do is look.
That's not
And I
evidence.
listen. And I listen to people. And let's see what happens.
So she just, is it just me, man, or is she just sort of extra in this?
Why? Yeah, why does she have to keep on interrupting and talking over him?
It's like, shut up.
Yeah.
Shut
It's the Leslie Stahl school of how to interview somebody.
Yeah. I mean, screaming about evidence about the J6ers. Now, let's not forget that a lot of these folks, the J6ers, and I don't want to relitigate the whole thing, but, you know, they were overcharged after federal prosecutors were too aggressive or broad in their use of obstruction charges. And so some of those people were actually released. Some of these people spent months, over a year.
Before being charged.
Yeah.
And I just watched video this morning of police actually leading the protesters into the Capitol building. You cannot tell me differently.
Yes.
So, you know, Kristen Welker can go pound sand.
At one point, she talked about those that admitted to assaulting police officers. Well, they admitted to it as part of plea bargains because if they didn't, they would have spent 15 years in prison. I mean, that's how it goes. These people were outgunned legally, really had no choice. They come to you and they say, okay, so if you admit to assaulting a police officer, even if they didn't, they'll say, we're going to go after you. If you don't admit to it, we're going to come after you and you will spend 15 years in jail. Every penny that you have will be spent defending these allegations. So you might as well just admit it. You'll spend a year in prison and then we'll let you out. I mean, that's basically how it goes. There was more. Donald Trump, Kirsten Welker.
Agents ushering them into the building. They had FBI go into the building. Those people walking around, they're looking always in the side. They weren't in. They were being ushered into the building.
There's no evidence.
You had a bunch of dirty cops, and frankly, what they did was weaponization of our government.
But sir, there's no evidence of that. More than 1,000 people.
No, there's none. You know what you do? Try looking at the tapes one time.
But sir, that's not evidence.
Do you think it's appropriate?
I'm going to say this is that. As in the video that I have, as she's saying, as Donald Trump says, they were waving them into the Capitol building. She's like, there's no evidence of that. It's right there on video. I mean, I don't know. See, here's the thing. I think Kirsten Welker, I think what she would say as evidence, and again, I'm air quoting, I think what she would call evidence is the Washington Post or the New York Times doing an investigation. Well, clearly, they never did. It's all on video, though, and these are things that the mainstream media refuse to cover.
Did Mike Johnson have to get 41,000 hours of footage unredacted and released so that people could look at it?
Yeah, and it's all there. That's why Donald Trump says, all you got to do is look at the tapes, and the tapes are right there. So for Kirsten Welker to say, passionately, time and time again, there's no evidence, and we also know that there were FBI assets in the crowd. That is just a fact. She can sit here and say there's no evidence. It's like, you know what? It's like she's in her own little mainstream media bubble, and if the New York Times or the Washington Post didn't report it, then clearly it didn't happen, and there's no evidence. Forget about the fact that you've got Kash Patel and others within the Trump administration. They end up going in and they find out. I think James Comey even testified to the fact that there were FBI assets in the crowd. So she can sit here and say there's no evidence, but clearly there is. Here's more from Donald Trump and Kirsten Welker.
But sir, that's not evidence.
Do you think it's appropriate?
That's how they count the votes in
Do you
California.
think it's appropriate that they have an election and 5 days later they're nowhere close to picking a winner?
State and local officials acknowledge they are slow. They're urging.
No, they're crooked.
They're urging the votes to be counted quicker. That's how they vote in California.
They're crooked, just like you're crooked. Your press is crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked.
To be fair, I'm not crooked, but let's
really.
Let's
well,
continue.
You play right into their hands.
Let's continue.
You're either crooked or you're stupid.
Daily Dan poll. Daily Dan poll. Is Kirsten Welker crooked or stupid? Is that a good Daily Dan poll, John?
Wow. Yeah, I
think that's a good Daily Dan poll. So clearly, the previous Daily Dan poll, should there be a data center built next to the zoo? Far, vast majority of people care about the clouded leopard and believe that, no, there should not be a data center built right next to the zoo. So now let's do a Daily Dan poll. Kirsten Welker, stupid or crooked? What do you say, John? I say both. Let's make sure.
Okay.
You know what, though? If we say both, we're going to let Sam choose. Sam, do we have both be
As
one
an
of the
option?
options? Because everybody's going to say both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead. And then we'll all just say, both stupid and crooked.
You play right into their hands with this rap. You know that these elections are rigged. Your network knows that they're rigged. You know that I won an election in a landslide, and I got 94% bad press.
But, Mr. President,
you know why I got that? Because you have no credibility.
But you've never presented evidence that it was rigged.
I mean, she just goes on and on about the no evidence. The complications here, the situation is that she simply would not let things go. So when President Trump was talking about rigged elections and she is screaming about evidence, mail-in balloting in California. Let's just be specific about California. And Hans von Spakovsky is going to be joining us at 6:35 to talk specifics. But in California, rigged elections, mail-in balloting, ballots mailed to every single voter, ballot harvesting, the progressive groups collecting ballots for their candidates, voter rolls that have long inactive people on the voter rolls, dead people, people that have moved to other states, because that gives the Democrats the ability to cheat. You have same-day registration, which clearly allows for cheating or mistakes. No demand for voter ID. It goes on and on and on. The other thing that he talked about, Donald Trump said, is the bad press. He's clearly right about that. So even last night, I don't know if you saw this, Joan, but last night, a top federal prosecutor in Los Angeles is asking the question about voter rolls. And why is California blocking an audit designed to ensure fair elections? Mm-hmm. First Assistant U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley said on Sunday California is blocking a federal audit of its voter rolls one day after Los Angeles mayoral candidate Spencer Pratt questioned the state's vote counting system for the first time. Asaley, a top federal prosecutor in Los Angeles and a longtime Trump ally, outlined on X longstanding federal concerns about voter roll maintenance, ballot harvesting, loose registration laws. Here's the exact quote. For over a year, the Department of Justice has been trying to audit California's voter rolls, he said. Federal law gives the Attorney General the authority to review state voter files and confirm that only eligible U.S. citizens and voting in federal elections. Asaley announced on Friday that federal authorities were investigating evidence of election fraud in California. He did note that California allows first-time voters to register with forms of ID that most Americans would find surprising. Do you know what you can use in California? A gym card membership.
A gym card membership?
You can use I didn't believe this. I looked it up on ChatGPT, and first ChatGPT said no, then Grok said yes, you can use gym card memberships. I ended up having to go to the Secretary of State's website in California, where indeed they do say you can use a gym card membership, a gym membership card to register to vote in California. You can also use employee ID cards, credit or debit cards as well, to register to vote in California. So when Donald Trump says to Kirsten Welker, it's rigged, that's what he means. Oh, there's no evidence. There's no evidence. The evidence is in the laws in California. I mean, it's so simple. Oh, there's more.
Let's keep talking about, I want to talk about Todd
You
Blanche.
have more evidence. There's more evidence than ever presented.
Let's talk
Your
about...
elections
You
in
went
this
to
country,
court.
we're like a third world country.
But, sir-
Your elections are crooked, and you're crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked,
Mr.
and so
President-
is ABC, and CBS, and CNN.
But, Mr. President-
You're one-sided crooked networks. All right, let's call it quits, because I've had enough. Thank you, darling. Have a good
Mr.
time.
President...
I love that.
Thank you, darling.
Thank you, darling. Have a good time.
That was Apprentice vibes.
Oh, yeah.
What I really like about that is the thank you, darling, have a good time,
Yeah.
as he's taking off his lapel mic and throwing it to the ground with his hand.
Yeah.
Oh, this is... And she begs him to stay. She begs him to stay.
I traveled all the way to Wisconsin.
I've sat in the rain with you.
I know.
I've sat in the rain with you for an hour, on and off in the rain, and I've given you enough time. You ought to straighten out your press, because you know what?
Mr.
A
President,
country can never be great with a dishonest
Listen,
press.
we
Come on, let's
traveled
go.
all the way to Wisconsin for this interview. I spoke with President Trump on Saturday, and we both acknowledged the complications during the interview posed by the rain.
It was the rain's fault.
It was the rain's fault. Don't you know, Joan and Sam? It was the rain's fault.
That is too funny.
Yeah, she was she was manic in trying to get her, no evidence. And as I said at the beginning of the segment, where I think that she goes in there trying to bait President Trump. That's what it felt like to me. It felt like she was trying to bait Donald Trump. And it also feels like she's one of these last word people. Do you know what I mean by last word? She's always got to get the last word in. I've noticed this about Kirsten Welker, where she's not going to let Donald Trump, and I'm air quoting this, get away with having the last word. She's got to get the last word, and completely taking out of context when the president says the elections in California are rigged, and all you've got to do is look at, the voter rolls and their lack of, real confirming who is legal and who is not in California, who can vote, who can't vote, and so forth. That's what he meant by rigged. And she's screaming about no evidence. All you got to do, woman, is look at the policies in California.
How come entire countries can process national elections in one night, but it takes them a month to do a mayoral race?
What is it, India? Somebody pointed out India with all of their people. Who's got more people, India or California? I don't even know.
India
640 million registered voters in India.
Okay, very good. So clearly India has a lot more voters. And again, as you said, Sam, and as you have been saying, we've all been saying, why does it take 5 days? Well, it takes 5 days because I believe that the fix is in. And so now the mayor's race, bottom line is, it is going to be Nathia Rahman versus Karen Bass. What's crazy is that Rahman was in third place on Election Day. The polling, she was nowhere to be found. And then suddenly you have thousands of mail-in ballots that voted for her. It seems to me that it seems illogical.
19,096.
Saturday was the big night. On Saturday, they had all of these, and you could see it coming. You had Kirsten Welker saying, oh, well, the Republicans are doing really well in California. I don't know when this was taped, but you could see day after day after day since the election where Rahman was just coming up, inching up slowly but surely. And you could see it. You could see it happening.
38% of the entire batch.
No Republican will buy the mayor's race in L.A. And it's a shame because Pratt ran a great campaign. And I believe that the Republican in the mayor's race in Los Angeles, I thought Pratt did an excellent job. We'll have to see what ultimately happens in the governor's race. I think the governor's race, that is getting close as well. You've got Tom Steyer gaining on Steve Hilton, and that is going on right now as we speak as well. And that is getting closer and closer. You've got Xavier Becerra. He's going to be obviously number one. He's already in it. So then it's going to be between Hilton or Steyer, and we'll have to see where that one goes. But the L.A. mayor's race, I mean, it is clear that there is cheating going on. And why else would California say, no. We don't want anybody to look at our voter rolls, just like we don't want anybody to look at the billions of dollars that was spent on all of the homeless people trying to solve the homeless problem, tens of billions of dollars trying to solve the homeless problem. And the homeless problem literally increased, and nobody knows where that money went. But Gavin Newsom doesn't want anybody to look at where that money went, and no audits are allowed. California is so rife with corruption, it is horrifying. 5:55, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Time to talk to Joan about what's coming up in the news at 6.
Yeah, hey, it's a flash flood watch in effect for Middle Tennessee today. We'll bring you what Stefano has to say about our chances of rain and how it could get around here. It's coming up here at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning, 6 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories, and weather is the top of the news today. All of Middle Tennessee is under a flood watch for today. Here's Stefano DiPietro at Channel 4.
As we get into the late morning and afternoon, you'll start to see those individual thunderstorm cells begin to pop up. So we'll be keeping an eye out for those thunderstorms that are slow moving, that have very heavy rainfall. They may have a gusty wind or two, but I think heavy rain is going to be the main focus.
And we will keep an eye on the weather throughout the day here at WTN. Data centers are making news around Nashville, with opposition growing to at least one plant near the Nashville Zoo. And petitions are flying over another one, which is part of a larger expansion at Fisk University.
An ambitious billion-dollar master plan that includes new academic facilities, infrastructure upgrades, and a new Fisk Arena. Those plans also include a 30-megawatt data center, which is now drawing concerns from alumni and North Nashville residents.
This is coming to our neighborhood.
Kaylin Morning is a mother of two who lives within a mile and a half of Fisk University's campus.
I get that we're trying to progress and move forward, but it shouldn't come at the health of zoo animals or the citizens of Nashville.
Morning says she worries about noise from the data center and a lack of testing on the impacts to those who live nearby.
That's News 2's Liz DeSantis reporting. The Carmelo Anthony murder trial resumes this morning, with his defense attorneys trying to establish his self-defense claim. Over the weekend, the prosecution presented the medical evidence and the autopsy photos of Austin Metcalf's heart, which suffered a stab wound that was, according to the medical examiner, unsurvivable. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
Stock futures were mixed overnight after new volleys were fired by both Iran and Israel, jeopardizing a fragile ceasefire and shaking up financial markets worldwide. The Dow was poised to open the trading week with a loss. On Friday, the run for the roses ended for the major stock averages, with the Nasdaq plunging over 4%, its biggest drop in over a year. The S&P sank nearly 2.5%. The Dow Jones lost 700 points to close at 50,867. After 3 weeks of horror movie dominance, it was a horror spoof that ruled the box office this weekend. Scary Movie led ticket sales at $55 million, easily beating the much bigger budget Masters of the Universe. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
And Dow futures are pointing down 42 points right now. NASDAQ futures, however, on the positive side by 215. S&P futures, they're up 27. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather. Next, I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. It's a stalled out bus this morning on 40 eastbound. It's in the Eastern Split area right at I-24, and the right shoulder is blocked off by it. Watch, there's a wrecker on the scene, and that could cause some delays this morning as they're trying to clear that out. Otherwise, on the major roadways, it's not looking too bad so far. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.606 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Coming up at 8:05 later this morning, lots of controversy regarding that possible data center next to the Nashville Zoo. Joan, have you ever heard a data center? Actually, have you ever heard one?
No, I haven't.
All right, so it's kind of hard to tell how loud this is, but I did find a couple of examples on YouTube. This is audio only.
Oof.
So this is like coolers and air conditioning and that kind of thing. That is what it is. And again, we talked about this, a lot of light pollution, a lot of noise pollution as well. They want to put one next to the airport, not the airport. They want to put one next to the zoo. And so Courtney Johnston is going to be joining us. It is her district. She's part of Metro City Council. So it is her district where they want to do this. And to be perfectly candid, I don't know where she stands on this. Do you know, I think part of what's going on is that everybody wants to use AI, but everybody's got like NIMBY, not in my backyard. Everybody wants to use AI, and a lot of people love AI, but at the same time, they don't want the data center either next to their home. Nobody wants it next to, for example, the zoo and so forth. By the way, they also say, because I'm trying to figure out, okay, how loud is a data center compared to like other noises, right? And I think that one of the things that I'm seeing is that it just kind of depends on what kind of data center it is. But they say that the noise is similar to a jackhammer or a freeway and that kind of noise. So we'll find out. And if you missed the 5 o'clock hour, then I'm going to move on. But in the 5 o'clock hour, we did talk about how the zoo, and a lot of people are concerned that the animals inside the zoo will be impacted by the noise pollution and also the lights, because they're also very, very brightly lit as well. And that'll mess with this, what do they call it? The circadian rhythm of animals, like their sleeping pattern and stuff?
Circadian rhythm?
Circadian rhythm, whatever. So
the circadian rhythm only happens every 13 years.
Okay.
But I was going to point out that the same people that would say, oh my gosh, we can't build a data center, I thought they would be against the zoos in general. Thought put the animals back in their habitats, right?
No idea. Let's see here. All right, let's talk about what is going on with Iran, and let's talk about the fact that this ceasefire, I started out the show talking about, okay, so the two most predictable things happened over the weekend. Number one is, of course, what happened in Los Angeles. Number two was you have the ceasefire where there is not actually a ceasefire. So now a lot of rockets and missiles fired over the weekend between, you've got Iran and Israel. You've got the Houthis as well. You've got Israel, you've got Lebanon and Hezbollah. So basically, on a weekend where Donald Trump said we could possibly have a deal with Iran, instead, Iran bombed Israel returning fire. This was, again, over the weekend.
Israel's military says its air force is striking military targets belonging to the Iranian regime in western and central Iran. This comes hours after Iran launched at least 4 waves of missiles at Israel. It's the first time since an early April ceasefire was implemented. Israel says all missiles were intercepted and is now vowing to deliver a powerful response.
Well, and they did. Clearly, I think Iran they do want to escalate this. I think that is obvious. But remember what happened last week where Hezbollah in Lebanon attacked Israel. Israel responds. Then Iran used that as an excuse to pull out of negotiations. Well, this is, at least to me, same stuff, different day. They hit Israel. Israel hits them. Everybody starts retaliating. It's what the Middle East does, to be perfectly honest. So what exactly happened? Well, over the weekend, Hezbollah hits Israel. Israel hit Beirut in Lebanon. Then Iran launches attacks against Israel itself. Now, as you heard, Israel was able to hold off those missiles. Then early this morning, Israel hits Iran and a petrochemical plant there in Iran. So it's just, there's a lot of missiles, a lot of rockets going back and forth. And it does look like Israel is able to defend itself.
I just got off the phone with President Trump, who is following the developing situation across the region. He told me what I would suggest to Iran. You've shot your missiles. That's enough. Get back to the table and make a deal. The president once again calling for a negotiated settlement. He also spoke about the ongoing negotiations with Iran, saying we are very close. I would say an agreement would be signed on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday of this coming week. And now this takes place. And so the president will get briefed on what is happening right now, this ongoing Iranian ballistic missile attack against Israel. But I asked him about those initial IDF strikes that took place earlier today. He told me they were not coordinated with the United States, and I asked him for reaction to the Israeli strikes against Hezbollah in Beirut, and President Trump said, I'm not happy about it.
You know, I get that Trump isn't happy about it, but what is Israel supposed to do? Like, that would be my question to Donald Trump. They're getting hit by Hezbollah. So are they supposed to not fire back, just allow these groups to fire on them with no response? These leaders in the Middle East, I mean, clearly they have a thing for bombing each other. I mean, isn't that painfully obvious? Houthi rebels in Yemen have now started firing on Israel as well. So, you know, Trump, he's been saying that things are going well. Clearly not. You had Netanyahu and Donald Trump. They're not seeing eye to eye on this. They keep having these conversations. You know, there was, I think it was on Friday. Was it Friday, Joan, where Donald Trump gave Benjamin Netanyahu some what for?
Oh, yeah. And he gave him a little more what for overnight. So
yeah. And it's just, you know, I think what Donald Trump wants is for Netanyahu to just, okay, they're going to bomb you. They're going to send rockets your way. You're going to be able to knock them down. By and large, you're going to be able to knock them down. Don't respond. Don't let them provoke you into attacking back, because that is clearly what Iran ultimately wants.
Israel is also saying no other country on earth would allow missiles to enter their country without anybody saying a word, without any retaliation against it.
That's true.
And it's not expected of any other country in the world except Israel. Everyone expects Israel to withhold their fire.
That's true.
Why? Why are they the only ones that have to withhold their fire?
And remember, the media oftentimes, Joan, as you know, the media will report, oh, Israel is bombing Hezbollah. It's like, instead of saying Israel is responding to a rocket attack by Hezbollah.
Yeah. And in fact, that was ABC's take this morning. The first thing I came in, that was the first thing I looked for. And ABC News says, well, Israel started this. Israel went after Hezbollah. Yeah.
Trump apparently telling the Financial Times that he is calling the shots and would dictate to Benjamin Netanyahu the terms of the war, again, reiterating that he calls the shots, not Benjamin Netanyahu. Netanyahu apparently will have no choice but to accept any deal the U.S. negotiates with Iran, according to the Financial Times. Well, Benjamin Netanyahu, obviously, he's going to have something to say about that. This is from Fox News. The Iranian regime, the attack came after Tehran threatened to strike Israel and American bases in the Middle East in response to the attack on the Lebanese capital. The first time Israel had targeted Beirut since a ceasefire on that front was announced by the U.S. last week. Israel had agreed not to hit Beirut as long as Hezbollah did not attack Israel proper, and agreed with Lebanon on a broader truce as long as the militant group stops fighting. The problem is the militant group has not stopped fighting. The president, of course, had that interview with Kirsten Welker where she challenged him on the nuclear deal that Obama negotiated and Donald Trump ended. I'm going to get to that audio coming up, 6:15. Time to check the roads on WTN. Very good. As far as your weather goes, we've got a flash flood watch for all of Middle Tennessee. Possible storms this morning, clearing by this afternoon, a high of 83. Thanks for listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So, what does Donald Trump say about what is going on in Iran and Beirut? Houthi rebels, of course, in Yemen attacking Israel as well. All of that was fodder for conversation. Donald Trump speaking to Kirsten Welker, and she challenged the president on the nuclear deal that Obama negotiated and Donald Trump ended.
President, Iran was the closest to developing weapons-grade uranium after you ripped up the nuclear deal because there were no guardrails in place.
They were developing it during the nuclear deal.
Right.
You don't know that? Iran, when Obama signed that stupid deal where he paid them billions and billions of dollars, he thought he could bribe them. Listen to me. They were developing a nuclear weapon. That's how they got there. They got all of this uranium during Obama. You know that, don't you? Well, that's how they got there. Don't say this. They got there. They developed it during the Barack Hussein Obama, during his administration.
They've escalated their development after the deal was wrapped up. But let's talk about the economy. I want to talk about the economy.
If I didn't go in there with the B-2 bombers, they would right now have a nuclear weapon, and it could be that half of the world would be eradicated.
Let me ask you about the economy.
So that is Donald Trump. There's always going to be arguments over this, and that is the bottom line. We'll never really know who was right in all of this. I do believe that Donald Trump, though, is right. Because remember, during the Obama era, when they entered into the Iranian nuclear deal, Iran would not allow access to nuclear inspectors. So we had no idea if they were complying or not. And so, again, with the no evidence, which she always does. We talked about that in the previous hour. But when Kirsten Welker says there's no evidence, she's missing the point. The point is that there's no evidence, and I'm air quoting, because Iran would not provide the necessary transparency. Also, you remember, the Iranian nuclear deal eventually allowed Iran to begin nuclear work again. It also allowed them to continue funding terrorism. So there were a lot of issues with the Iranian nuclear deal. But, you know, Kirsten Welker, she likes to look at things in her, mainstream media bubble, as I said in the previous hour. If it wasn't reported on by the Washington Post or the New York Times or NBC or CBS, then there's no evidence, when the reality is there is plenty of evidence that Iran certainly was not complying with the nuclear inspectors. Oh, and by the way, here's the other thing. Just because the United States pulled out of the nuclear deal, there were like 6 other nations, including Germany and the UK and others, that were still involved in the nuclear deal. And they told Iran, we expect you to hold up your end of the bargain. What did Iran do? They did not.
When you were campaigning, you said you would rip up the Iran nuclear deal, but negotiate a better deal. Why didn't you negotiate a better deal at the time? Because after it was ripped up, there weren't guardrails, and they escalated their production of enriched uranium.
Excuse me. It takes years to do these things. These people have been fighting for 47 years. They've been killing Americans. They've been taking off their legs and their arm, and their faces have been hurt so badly and so horribly. I'm moving very fast. I'm into 3 months. Vietnam lasted 19 years. I'm into my 3rd month, and all I do is say, whoa, when are you going to win? If I were a Democrat, nobody would be talking that way, but it doesn't matter to me. I've gotten so used to it. Look, we have totally destroyed their military. They have some missiles left. They have some drones left.
Do you know how many missiles?
Yes, exactly.
How many?
I don't want to tell you.
Can you give me a ballpark?
But they have some left. No, but I know almost to the number, and we know where they are too, and we know where their drones are, and we know where their drone factories are. Most of the drone factories have been knocked out. Most of the launching pads have been knocked out. And
so that is President Trump talking about how, and you just heard the audio there. We know where the drone factories are. We know where the missiles are in the missile factories, I guess he said as well. I don't know. When I heard that, Joan, my first thought was, well, if we know where they are, then why don't we bomb them?
Yeah.
I'm not being anti-Trump. I'm not being anti-MAGA. I'm asking a simple question. If we know where the drone factories are, and we know that they're using these drones to try to bomb our military bases and ships trying to cross the Strait of Hormuz, then why don't we just blow them up? Because
is it because they're in the caves and it's difficult to get to them without targeted, very targeted, you need certain types of
like bunker busters.
Yes.
Yeah.
To make a strike like that. And if we do that, then it erupts the entire peace process. And President Trump doesn't want to do that. So, I mean, I think he's in a tough position.
I just don't think there is a peace process right now. There is no ceasefire, right? I mean, I think, is it safe to say, let's do a quick, we don't need to do a Daily Dan poll, Sam. I wanted the three of us. Sam, yes or no? Are we still involved in a ceasefire?
No.
Joan?
No, I don't think we are.
I don't think we're. So the three of us have clearly the opinion, unanimous, that no, we're not in a ceasefire. I would say that we haven't been in a ceasefire for quite some time.
It just identifies as a ceasefire.
Well, clearly it is not a ceasefire. And I think that people are getting a little frustrated because we want this to be over with. We need it to be over with, especially if you're a conservative, because you know that there's things that are related to the war in Iran. Clearly, the economy and the midterm elections are two things that we are all worried about. But the other thing is, I think do you know what it is? I think the American people, especially, well, certainly if you're a conservative, you like to see the bad guys get it, don't you? Whether we're talking about Iran, whether we're talking about Carmelo Anthony, whether we're talking about Graham Plattner, we like to see the bad guys held to account and face some consequences for the crap that they do. And so for us, I think that we're getting impatient because Iran and their terror networks, they keep disrupting the ceasefire. They keep disrupting the peace process. So I would say to Iran, listen, if it's war that you want, if it's bombs you want, well, then it's bombs away, and we need to bomb the living crap out of them. And Donald Trump is just saying, and I love Donald Trump, but he's just saying, get back to the negotiating table. Well, if they're not at the negotiating table, and if this is ultimately what they're going to continue to do, well, then they have no interest in negotiating. We can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way. Clearly, Iran does not want to do this the easy way. So let's show them the hard way. It is 6:23. Joan's got the news coming up at 6:30. Joan.
Yeah, coming up here, a look at where the black bears are being sighted around here in Middle Tennessee. It's coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan Mandis here for my friends at the Covered Patio. Warmer weather means you want to spend more time outside. If you'd like to add more living space to your home, think about building or upgrading your patio. They've got motorized screens so that you can easily keep the patio open when you want some sun and closed when you want some shade. So your back screened in porch becomes a lot more enjoyable. Now, at the Covered Patio, they've got a ton of outdoor living options with motorized screens, patio covers, custom wooden decks, and outdoor structures. They've got a ton of options with styles for every budget. Now, the Covered Patio is dedicated to fair prices and customized solutions for your specific home and your specific space. So enjoy your home a lot more with an incredible patio upgrade from the Covered Patio. Reach out to the Covered Patio, 615-695-2407, 615-695-2407. As always, tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. TheCoveredPatio.com, TheCoveredPatio.com. Dan Mandis here for my friends at Loan Pronto. Credit card interest rates, they are now over 29%, and most people are only making the minimum payments, so they're getting nowhere in paying off that balance. But here's what many homeowners simply do not realize. Using the equity in your home, you can easily access hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash. With Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan, you can pay off your credit cards, your existing HELOC, your car loans, or get money for that home improvement project. One client just got $100,000 approved and saved over $1,500 every single month. And here's the best part. With Loan Pronto, you can do it all from your phone with zero out of pocket, no hard credit pull up front, no appraisal, no long drawn out bank process, and no touching that first mortgage. Rates right now are at near 3-year lows, so act right now. Go to loanpronto.com to see how much you can get in about 60 seconds. Loan Pronto 2800, 5-star Google reviews, 615-499-5780, 615-499-5780, loanpronto.com. That's loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, and MLSconsumeraccess.org. $626, Mark Spain Real Estate. Kick off the summer stress-free and sell your home with the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. You're going to save time, make the most money, and eliminate all that hassle. You know, I always recommend Mark Spain Real Estate to my friends here in Nashville because I can trust that they are going to sell your home hassle-free with a strong all-cash offer. As a matter of fact, with Mark Spain Real Estate, they've been helping homeowners sell their homes for 30 years, and they've served over 72,000 satisfied clients. Mark Spain Real Estate is the #1 most reviewed real estate company in America. They've got over 13,000 5-star reviews. Yes, you can trust my friends to sell your home fast and for maximum profit. Mark Spain Real Estate, 855-299-SOLD. The real estate market is indeed changing. They can help you get out of your home fast with the guaranteed offer, 855-299-SOLD. Find them online anytime. It is markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today. That's markspain.com and start packing.
Good morning. It's now 6:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Just keep in mind that we're expecting spotty thunderstorms and heavy downpours today. There is a flash flood watch across all of Middle Tennessee. The missiles were flying overnight in the Middle East. Here's ABC's Karen Waugh.
Overnight, a major escalation in the Middle East. Israel striking back at Iran, explosions heard in the capital, Tehran. The Israeli military says it targeted missile launch sites after Iran fired nearly a dozen missiles at Israel yesterday. Israel's ambassador to the U.S. saying no self-respecting country in the world would tolerate such an attack, and neither will Israel.
On social media, President Trump saying that Israel and Iran are looking to do an immediate ceasefire, subject, he said, to ignorance or stupidity getting in its way. The Los Angeles mayor's race has the president's attention, too. ABC's Hannah Battah carrying the water here for the left with her reporting this morning.
Overnight, progressive candidate Nithya Rahman overtaking former reality TV star Spencer Pratt in the battle for second place in the Los Angeles mayor's race. Whoever takes second place advances to a runoff against incumbent Karen Bass. President Trump responding, slamming the state's slow ballot count, claiming without evidence that the election is rigged.
Using the without evidence, of course. Now, as of Sunday night's ballot drop in California, Rahman has now overtaken Pratt for second place by 3,000 votes. President Trump using California to push Republican lawmakers to pass the Save America Act, which would restrict the use of mail-in ballots and expand voter ID. There's been a handful of black bear sightings in Middle Tennessee. Make that the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency saying they've been spotted in Hickman, Dixon, Wilson, and Sumner counties so far this spring. TWRA encouraging everyone to never feed or approach bears, get rid of pet food outdoors, and clean and store your grill. Just a couple of things to do so you don't encourage bears to stick around if you do happen to spot them. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Okay, so this morning we've got an accident in Hermitage on 40 westbound. It's between Old Hickory Boulevard East and Donaldson Pike, and the traffic is stop and go in that area. It's also raining pretty heavily there, so that's playing into the delays as well. The South Side area, 2nd Avenue South at Lafayette Street. You've got an accident reported by police there. Out in Rockwood, watch it too, on 40 eastbound before Westdale Road. There's a crash and it blocks off the left lane. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.635 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Text line is open, 615-737-9986. Our buddy Hans von Spakovsky joining us, Senior Legal Fellow, Advancing America Freedom. Hans, always great to have you on. I always like to turn to you when things just, I don't know, look a little skew with elections, and that is exactly what is going on in California. So in the headlines today, obviously, is the fact that Spencer Pratt went from solidly number 2 to number 3 with Nathia Rahman all of a sudden gaining with all of these mail-in ballots. I want to talk a little bit about the process in California. Earlier, we were talking about these accusations that in California, Hans, you can actually register to vote using a gym card or a credit card. That is crazy to me.
Well, it is, but the entire California system is crazy. Dan, I'll put it this way: if you wanted to design an election system that made it easy to cheat and easy to steal elections, you would use California as a model. I mean, not only that, that's only for first-time voters who are registering and never voted in the state before, that they even require anything like that. You don't have to show an ID to vote there at all. And remember, they mail out ballots to every single registered voters, and their voter rolls are in terrible shape because they don't clean them up. Not only that, but I mean, look, it's just one thing after another. They continue to count ballots that come in for 7 days after Election Day. And if there's some kind of problem with your ballot, like let's say you forgot to sign it, they give you 22 days to cure the problem. That's why it takes weeks and weeks and weeks for us to know what's going on. But even then, you can't be sure that there wasn't cheating going on in any election out there.
Well, I got to ask, Hans, I mean, the voter rolls in disarray, that's by design. There's a story out this morning where, there is the Trump administration, I guess it's the DOJ, they want to audit the voter rolls, and California's like, no way, we're not going to allow you to do that.
Yeah, and that's because, for example, a couple of years ago, they put in automatic voter registration. When you go in to get your driver's license, California, they don't ask you, would you like to register to vote? That's what happens in other states. No, they automatically register you to vote. And remember, California provides driver's licenses to aliens who are here both legally and illegally. And so there's no doubt that there are probably tens of thousands of aliens who are registered and voting in California, and California is doing everything they can to prevent the federal government from finding out about that.
And I guess obviously that the problem is for conservatives, we see this coming a mile away. I mean, on Friday, I've been saying for a long time, there's no way that the state of California is going to allow, just sticking with the mayor's race in L.A., Spencer Pratt to destroy Karen Bass in an election. So the apparatus of the Democrat Party will ultimately, with all of the mail-in ballots, Nathia Rahman will end up magically in second place, and all will be right with the world for the Democrats and the progressives in California. Is there really nothing that Republicans can do in California. There's nothing they can do. They're outgunned in the state legislature. They're outgunned, obviously, in the governor's office. I don't think they'll have a governor that is Republican this time around. But even if they did, well, you've got the state legislature that is almost entirely progressive.
Right. Look, the only way any of this would change is through the feds. And for example, as you know, they've been trying to get the SAVE Act passed. It passed the U.S. House. It's stuck in the U.S. Senate. That would require not only IDs in federal elections, but proof of citizenship to register to vote for federal elections. And that would be the only way to extend that kind of security to elections in California. But as you know, like I said, right now the SAVE Act is stuck in the Senate. They just had another attempted vote. They wanted to attach it to the reconciliation bill, and you had 4 Republicans, including Susan Collins and Mitch McConnell, who crossed lines to vote with the Democrats to prevent that from happening.
What is it with just to look at some of the politics of this, but what is it with the likes of Susan Collins, Mitch McConnell, Tom Tillis was the other one. I forget, there was one more. I forget who it was. But isn't it, Lisa Murkowski, isn't it clear that there is cheating going on? And isn't it clear that we all know what the risks are if the Democrats ultimately end up getting the Senate back, and they'll do the same thing that we are asking the Republicans to do, which is kill the filibuster. But these same 4 Republicans, they also, John Thune has been saying, well, we don't have the numbers to be able to kill the filibuster. Do you believe that that's true?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is true. And why the 4 of them keep voting against the SAVE Act, I can't explain it. I just don't understand their reasoning. I think there's frankly, a lack of logical reasoning in what they're doing.
Well, I don't think Mitch McConnell, you don't have to comment on this, but I will. I think Mitch McConnell, he didn't know what the hell room he's in. So that's that. As far as the other 3, I don't know. I don't know if it's just, if it has its basis in Trump derangement syndrome. I don't know if they are just concerned about the fact that, well, if they do it, then the Democrats are going to do it. But it's my contention that Democrats are going to do this anyway if they end up getting back the Senate.
Well, I think that's unfortunately true, particularly because, remember, their other big goal is to expand and pack the Supreme Court, because they don't like the decisions that they're getting, and that's one of the things they would want to do.
So do you have any predictions as to what's going to happen in California? I'll do my prediction, then you can do yours. My prediction is Pratt is he's not going to be in the runoff. The governor's race is a little bit more interesting. Steve Hilton is still solidly in second place, but Steyer is gaining on him as well. I don't know. What are you seeing from your vantage point and from your contacts in California?
Well, I think you're right. I think Pratt is out trying to do an election contest is very expensive and very difficult. Almost never succeeds, as we all well know. And I have my doubts that Hilton will be able to stay ahead enough because I'm just afraid of all of the after Election Day mail-in ballots coming in from particularly Los Angeles, which is probably the worst place in the entire state, that I'm just not sure that he can stay in second place.
One of the things we were talking about this earlier, Hans von Spakovsky is joining us. And one of the things we were talking about earlier is all of the other nations that have far more registered voters than California does, and they're able to get this done within, a day. In California, they're talking about, days, if not weeks. I mean, it's just, tomorrow, I think, is tomorrow going to be a week since they've had this election? So you have any predictions as to when we'll finally know? We know Pratt's out. When we'll know the rest of it as far as the governor's race goes?
If it's really close, it'll be at least another month, probably.
Wow. This jungle primary, how do you feel about this jungle primary? I can see why the Democrats love it, because you have all of these Democrat candidates, and you collect them all into one, and they ultimately end up looking better than the Republican candidate. There might be only one or two, like what is going on in California, the governor's race this time around. Will you tell me what you think about the jungle primary? Do you think it's a good idea or a bad idea?
No, it's a bad idea. It's a out and out violation of associational rights. In other words, look, political parties are people getting together because they share the same political and other beliefs, and they have a constitutional right of association, and that means they ought to be able to run their own party elections. And what the state of California has done is said, nope, we're not going to allow you to do that. We're going to have one combined primary so that people, for example, who aren't Republicans can vote against your Republican candidates. And I people who think that it's not important to preserve associational rights of political party, you're just wrong. That's part of the American constitutional setup. It's good for democracy, and I just think jungle primaries are a way of trying to destroy that.
All right, Hans, always great to have you on, and fingers crossed for California, but I think that all is lost in California. I think that California is beyond saving at this point, but miracles can happen. I just don't think it's going to happen this time around. Hans, always great to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
All right, man. See you later. It is 6:45 on WTN. Time to check the roads. All right, as far as your weather goes, it looks like, Joan, you mentioned that it is raining outside. Is it pretty much raining all across Middle Tennessee at this point? I looked outside, and it does look like the naked statues, they need some umbrellas.
I couldn't tell you. Got to find my phone, Dan.
Oh.
Oh, no.
Oh.
I'm so dumb. We use our phones.
We do.
To do FaceTime.
Yeah, we do.
And I couldn't find my phone because it's right where I left it.
Hey, Sam.
FaceTime with you.
Joan, hold on one sec. Sam, can you go get Congressman John Rose, if you would? I'm about 3 minutes away from going on to a break, so you could just run get the congressman.
All right.
John Rose is coming here. Yeah, we can ask John Rose if it's... You don't have your key card. What a cluster of errors today. Here, come get mine real quick. Come get mine. Don't steal anything from the break room.
You gave him a good idea, though.
This is why we need interns. There you go. Thank you, Sam.
So there's a spot of a heavy shower right now, thunderstorm, right between Brentwood and Nolensville.
Okay.
A little bit of rain in Franklinville. Raining.
Franklinville?
I'm sorry, Franklin. Wow.
You all right, Joan?
Yeah, I think so. I just had a stroke.
That's all right.
Hermitage, there's a bit of a thunderstorm out there, too. So
Hermitageburg?
Hermitageburg. Yeah, how'd you know?
I'm just kidding. Whatever. All right, very good. Thank you, Joan.
Yeah.
It is 6:48.
Wise guy.
On Super Talk 99.7. All right, Congressman John Rose is coming up a couple weeks ago. All right, hey, Joan, I'm going to ask you this one.
Yeah.
You may not like this question, but I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
So I've got Congressman John Rose in. Okay. We're going to talk about nothing but state issues.
Okay.
Okay. So we've got that. Then I'm going to have Monty Fritz in. Okay. Also running for governor.
Nice.
I mean, not today, but Monty will come in at some other point, I hope. I'm going to ask Marsha Blackburn to come in and sit for an hour.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, good luck with that, Dan.
You don't think she'll come in? You know what? If she does, you know what she could do?
She's a very busy lady.
She could say, well, Joan, you didn't think that I would come in, yet here I am.
She could, but she probably wouldn't.
You never know. You never know. But here's my point, is that I'm offering it to Rose. He took me up on it. I'm offering it to Fritz. I'm assuming he'll take me up on it. So we'll see if the senator will be able to come in and spend an hour.
Busy lady.
With yours truly. You know what? We can tell her that we've got some really good coffee from Wally's Bean Machine.
There's an incentive.
That is absolutely an incentive. So we'll have to see. We'll see if Congressman John Rose wants some Wally's Bean Machine coffee. Wally'sBeanMachine.com.
There's no interns to go fetch it for him, though.
No interns whatsoever. You know what, though? The thing is that interns always make things awkward anyway.
That is true.
You ever have an intern?
Yeah.
I've had interns.
Yeah.
And I literally have nothing for them to do. And then the one time we like need them to like go get a congressman or something or a possible governor, they're off doing other things for somebody else. That actually happened one time. Anyway, so now here's the awkward is Sam is not, he's not back yet.
That's perfect.
No, that's okay. That's okay. You know,
he probably got locked out and he can't even tell us.
You know what the funny thing is? They probably have because they're going to fire me today. I don't know if you know that, but they're going to fire me today. They've already shut off my key card. So Sam left and he can't get back in because they shut off my key card. That could be it.
Yeah, it could be. Because he's seriously still not back yet.
No, it doesn't take that long. I don't know what he's doing. Like, seriously. 615-733. You know what we can do? Let's do this. Let's go ahead and without the sounder, we are going to go ahead and ask you, Joan, what is coming up in the news at 7 o'clock?
All right, so it's the latest on the pushback against that data center that is being suggested for near the Nashville Zoo, right next to the Nashville Zoo. So we've got the latest on what's happening with that petition for that about that data center.
All right, thank you, Joan. 651 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Father's Day is coming up, friends, and I've got a great gift idea for you. What about a Glock Store gift card for the 2A dad in your life? If you want to go to the Glock Store, you want to check them out, you want to buy that gift card for dad for Father's Day, here's the deal. They make it easy at the Glock Store. You can buy them in any denomination or for a specific activity like a 1-hour range session with a private instructor, including maybe a firearm rental. Now, for me, the training was amazing at the Glock Store, still doing it, as a matter of fact. So even if your dad already has a Glock, maybe 2, maybe even 10, the firearm rental is a great addition as well. He can try out all the latest and greatest in firearms. For example, the new Gen 6 Glocks, the latest red dot optics like the RMR HD, the EOTech E-Flex, or the enclosed Vortex Defender. Bottom line is they do have all the latest and greatest, as well as suppressors like Dead Air and Surefire. Bottom line is dear old dad can use it for anything he wants. A Glock Store gift card. That is my Dad's Day gift of choice, and I guarantee your dad is going to love it. The Glock Store, minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere. Glockstore.com, shoot270.com. Tell him Dan told you to reach out. 656 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 615-737-9986, 615-737 WWTN. I think over the past probably 5 minutes, the train wreckery that has happened on the morning show, I think 5144 actually says it best. Do y'all know that you're on the air?
Nah.
No, there was a moment, Joan, I didn't know if you knew that we were on the air. When you're talking about like your phone and you don't know where your phone is and everything. Yeah. And it was like, does she know that we're on?
Yeah.
She knows how microphones work. So now the great thing is poor Joan, both Joan and Sam are out of breath because they've been running up and down stairs looking for John Rose, who we were about to put on a milk carton because we couldn't figure out where the heck he was. And then it turns out he was waiting in his car because it was raining. And he's dressed all nice today. So, I mean, I wouldn't want to get my nice little suit jacket thing, whatever that thing is that he's wearing, wet.
His guy should have had an umbrella.
It could have got one from the naked statues.
Yes.
That's all he had to do.
Right around the corner.
Then it would be in the news that John Rose stole an umbrella from the naked statues.
Man.
So there you go. Anyway, yeah, I was talking about telling Sam about how, because he had like disappeared too, because he was waiting for John Rose.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, waiting for him, and you and I are like having awkward, this is like banter as we're trying to fill, you know, waiting for somebody to get back to push the button. You know what I mean? So it's kind of funny. Anyway, whatever. Let's see here. Yep, it is still raining. Apparently people asking if it's still raining. It most certainly is. All right, so what am I going to, you know what I'd like to do?
You tell us, Dan.
I'm going to, I've got the congressman in here for like an hour. So we're going to talk about all Tennessee issues because, you know, there's a lot of national stuff going on, and I've covered that extensively. If you have a question for John Rose, send it to the super text line, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. Send it to the super text line. I've got a bunch of questions myself. I'm going to lead off because I don't know how he feels about data centers and the fate of the cloud leopard, which is the big situation over there at the Nashville Zoo, where they're talking about putting in a big data center next to the zoo, which is home to a bunch of cloud leopards. And apparently the clouded leopards, they are very sensitive to light and noise pollution. And so I don't know how he would feel about, as governor, how he would feel about all of these data centers that are coming in. So if you've got a question for John Rose, you let me know on the super text line, 615-737-9986. Joan Jones is coming up with the news right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. And first and foremost in the news this morning is the weather. All of Middle Tennessee is now under a flash flood watch for today. The risk from thunderstorms arriving this morning. Here's Stefano DiPietro.
What we'll see happen over the next couple of hours is these individual thunderstorm cells that pop up on First Alert Live radar. It's those individual thunderstorms that could really cause some flooding concerns across parts of the mid-state. So take the umbrella with you as you're headed out the door. The more likely timing for flooding will be right around or before noon.
Now, it's very humid, so lots of moisture in the air for heavy rainfall with these storms. Keep it here, and we will stay on top of the storms. Tension rising in the Middle East with Iran firing a second wave of missiles in as many days at Israel. Tehran says in retaliation for Israeli attacks on Lebanon. Israel retaliating despite President Trump's plea to hold back.
Israel striking back at Iran. Explosions heard in the capital, Tehran. The Israeli military says it targeted missile launch sites after Iran fired nearly a dozen missiles at Israel yesterday. Israel's ambassador to the U.S. saying no self-respecting country in the world would tolerate such an attack, and neither will Israel.
That's ABC's Karen Wall reporting. Iran's Revolutionary Guard said it attacked air bases in southern Israel. In Iran, Israel hit a petrochemical company and air defense systems and weapons. Well, Well, who couldn't see this coming? Spencer Pratt fell into third place in the excruciatingly slow count of votes in Los Angeles. Nithya Raman is now roughly 3,000 votes ahead. The world's biggest New York Knicks fan is going to the game tonight. President Trump will attend, and that means some changes to security. Here's ABC's Sophie Flay.
No bags will be allowed, and fans are being told to arrive at least 2 hours before tip-off to pass through the TSA-style screening. Trump returning to his hometown to become the first sitting president to attend the NBA Finals.
I think the Knicks have an amazing team the way they played.
On Friday, thousands of Knicks fans celebrating the team's Game 2 win. Police arresting more than 24 people. One person accused of punching a police officer in the face multiple times.
Also, concerns after a random stabbing at Penn Station last night that injured 5 people. A homeless man has been arrested. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Moments ago, Iran announced the end of military operations against Israel. That helped stock futures to go higher this morning. The Dow futures right now plus 121. NASDAQ futures gaining 362, and the S&P futures are plus 47. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. South side, it's on 2nd Avenue South at Lafayette Street. You'll find an accident this morning. Also in Franklin on 65, southbound side before Murfreesboro Road. The left lane is blocked off by an accident, and a wrecker is on the scene. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.705 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Jonah, I want to make sure that I heard you right. So did you say that Iran has now announced that they are ceasing military operations against Israel?
Yeah, just moments ago, Iran announces the end of military operations against Israel. But it warns that Lebanon strikes could trigger an escalation. This is on CNBC. This is where the source is.
Yep.
They say that if Israel continues to strike against Lebanon, they could trigger another escalation. But again, Hezbollah continues lobbing missiles into Israel with the expectation that Israel won't do anything about it.
See, I was going to say, okay, so Iran is saying that they will no longer fire missiles against Israel. But what about their proxies, Hezbollah and the Houthi rebels and so on and so forth? So it feels a little empty to me, but you know what, whatever. So you said futures are now going up, and we'll see what it does to the, Brent crude and all that kind of stuff. So thank you, Joan Jones. Keep us updated. Mm-hmm. And always appreciate the updates from Joan. Congressman John Rose is joining us in studio. Congressman, I was explaining to folks earlier that I had you on, I think it was maybe a month ago. And I wanted to talk to you about, Tennessee issues. You're running for governor, obviously, as everyone knows. And then news kept breaking, and I ended up talking to you about Congressman stuff. And I felt bad because I really wanted to have you in to talk about, like, the governor stuff, issues affecting Tennessee. So I want to get right to it. You're running against, obviously, in the Republican primary, you've got Marsha Blackburn and Monty Fritz. One of the stories that I want to talk about is data centers. And it actually wasn't on my original list of things that I wanted to ask you about. But, there's these data centers that are now coming to the state of Tennessee. And on Friday, it kind of exploded. There's a data center that is going to be going up. They want to build one right next to the Nashville Zoo. Really zoo adjacent, and the folks at the zoo, they're upset because their animals, 3,000 of them, including their coveted clouded leopard, very sensitive to light and noise pollution. And last time I checked, there is over 300,000 people that signed this petition to stop the data center. So just, as governor, if you were elected, what would your position be on these data centers powering AI?
Sure. Good question, and one that I get. I've been to all 95 counties. We've done about 20 tour stops on our statewide Tennessee True Tour. This comes up almost every stop we have. And what I would say is that I think data centers are not all created equal, and they're not meant for every place. And so I think there's a very significant local factor here, like you see happening next to the zoo, of this may not be the appropriate place. And I think we want to let local leaders have a big say in determining what happens. So some data centers are good, probably things we should welcome in our state. Some are bad. Let me give you kind of a contrast from what I've seen. A data center up on the plateau in eastern part of the state is the number 2 user of electricity in that area. The number 1 user of electricity is a manufacturing facility that has over 1,000 jobs. The data center creates 8 jobs. That's probably a case that the local community and leaders in that area and the energy, in terms of assessing whether it makes sense to devote that much electric capacity to that one data center, I think that makes that probably a pretty clear call that maybe that wasn't the best choice. But then we might compare that to Colossus One in Memphis, Elon Musk's supercomputer, which has created 2,000 or 3,000 jobs in not only the creation but the operation of that, and puts Tennessee in an enviable place of having the most powerful supercomputer in the world. I think that might be an example of one that is worth figuring out. How can we make this work? And as you know, and you've probably talked about, that supercomputer, Musk has built a lot of the power generation necessary to run it, and is processing the brown water from Memphis, Shelby County's sewage system to cool it. So it's an example of a place where it's probably a win. And so I think we've just got to look at these carefully. I think local citizens need to also think about, where do we want these data centers on a global, from a global perspective? Because they contain our data lots of times. Do we want that in China, or do we want to have that here? And we've seen in the past that it probably is advisable that we figure out how to accommodate a lot of this in the United States, but it's not meant for every neighborhood.
You're feeling a little bit like people want their AI, they like AI, they like to use AI for research, whatever it is, but they don't want the data centers. Are you feeling a little bit like it might be NIMBY, not in my backyard?
I think there's a significant amount of that, and I think we've worked through those issues historically for other things that provide a necessary public accommodation, but are maybe not the most desirable thing to have in your backyard. And so we have to figure that out here. You might use solid waste disposal as a comparison. Yeah. Perhaps data centers are not as bad. And of course, I think working with whoever's developing the data center to make sure that they're not using more power than we want to allocate to them, that they're not creating the light and noise pollution that you've talked about on the show. I think those are things that can be worked around and accommodated to try to make the data center fit in some places. So again, not for every neighborhood, to be sure, but probably something that we should accommodate in the country ultimately. And we do hear We have seen some intelligence that says the Chinese are actually putting money into advocating against data centers out of the hope that we drive them offshore in the United States, which would not be good for this country in the long term.
We were talking about that earlier, the Chinese propaganda, and because China, of course, wants to be the leaders of AI. And so Governor Lee, clearly he has welcomed AI and welcomed data centers as part of, this pro-business mentality that I love here in the state of Tennessee. Assuming then, based on what you're saying, are you satisfied with where Governor Lee has taken AI and being such a welcoming voice for that in the state of Tennessee?
I would generally say I would be welcoming with the caveats that I've already mentioned. Yeah. So, and I think we have to be careful from an economic development perspective when we expend tax dollars to bring these things to Tennessee, not just with data centers, but other offers that we make to companies to come to Tennessee. We've got to be sure that those companies match up with our values. And I don't know if we'll get to it today, but the recent decision to give Starbucks $30 million, I think, is a very questionable decision that our state has made.
So that is actually question number 4 on my list, but we'll go ahead and jump up on the list. So the Starbucks deal. Governor Lee's administration enters into this deal with Starbucks, relocate jobs, their corporate offices. The governor's office, this is what they say, and I've had Stuart McWhorter on, we've talked about this. The governor's office says in exchange for the $30 million in incentives, we end up with hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, real estate investment, jobs for Tennesseans. So you believe this deal in particular was not the best deal?
Yeah, I think it's a bad idea, and for a number of reasons. First of all, we're spending $30 million to bring a company here that's very successful. It's not clear the payoff is what it should be in terms of the upside for us, but we have to keep in mind who this company is. And again, visiting with Tennesseans across the state, what I continually hear is that they're concerned about the future of our state and whether we're safeguarding our Tennessee values. And so we could not recruit a more woke company to Tennessee. I mean, if you study what Starbucks has meant and done historically, based in Seattle, Washington, one of the most woke cities in the country, we certainly don't want the environment in Seattle, in Nashville, Tennessee, or in our state. And so then they've been an advocate for all things DEI and ESG, diversity, equity, inclusion, environmental, social governance. They've been one of the primary leaders in advocating for the transgender movement. And in fact, if you look, you'll see that they're supporting financially transgender initiatives. And so it doesn't, money's fungible. We give them $30 million and they're giving $5+ million to support transgender initiatives in the southeastern United States. And now they're coming to the southeastern United States and bringing people arguably from Seattle here. I don't think this comports with our values. And it's one of the things I've said all along. We have to have a governor who's willing to stand up to those things. We need to be choosy as a state about the businesses that we bring to Tennessee. I think this is the classic example, maybe the poster child, we should say, for a business that I don't think comports with Tennessee values. And then what ultimately happens is not only does this impact us on the value front, they're going to get here and they're going to say, you guys, your values are out of step with where you should be. You're behind the times. They might even say we're Neanderthals. But, I think Neanderthals knew the difference between a man and a woman. And I'm not sure Starbucks does. And so I think this is one where we should say no. What could we do with $30 million? We could help our schools. We could send a lot of kids to the best schools in the state. We could pave a lot of roads. We could give it back to Tennessee taxpayers and let them make the decision about what to do with it. We could give 600 Tennessee-born coffee shops $50,000 apiece, which might make a big difference for their success here.
7:15, more with Congressman John Rose straight ahead. Time to check the roads on WTN. As far as your weather goes, wet today, rainy, wet roadways as well. And we've got flash flood warning, as a matter of fact. And storms continue through this morning. Then in the afternoon, it'll clear and a high of 83. Appreciate you listening to Super Talk 99.7. Congressman, is there anything, and I agree with you on, a bunch of leftists coming to Tennessee. Trust me when I say I'm very sensitive to that, talking about the Starbucks deal. One of the things that the governor's office has said is that there might be a few people coming to the state from Washington. As you probably know, a lot of those folks decided they didn't want to come to Tennessee. Good. That's fine by us. If you don't want to come, we don't want you. But one of the things that the governor's office has said is that there are a lot of Tennesseans that would actually be getting those jobs, and Starbucks would hire them. That's number one. And number two, by their equations, we'll end up with hundreds of millions of dollars in return on investment. What do you think about that?
Well, we hope. We hope that there are jobs for Tennesseans there. That would probably be the main upside, obviously. But then they're going to be subsumed into a company that has this established set of values, and they're going to be forced to live by those values in all likelihood, and supporting an ecosystem that wants to advance transgenderism. And I think that's just out of step with where we are as Tennesseans. So, in the best case scenario, maybe we get some Tennessee values plugged into Starbucks. That might be a good thing. But a lot of people are going to come here. And one of the other issues that I hear about is the issue of affordability of Tennessee. Our state's been managed pretty well, and give great credit to Governor Lee and his predecessors. We have low taxes. We have low debt as a state. We have a favorable regulatory environment. We're nice folks. People are coming here. But increasingly, we've endeavored to make Tennessee affordable, and the people that are coming here are driving up the cost of homes, driving up the cost of land, and making Tennessee unaffordable for Tennesseans. And I hear that across the state, and I think Tennesseans are worried about it, and I think they're open to the idea of recruiting great businesses to come to Tennessee to create opportunities and jobs for the future. But I think we have to be careful that we bring companies that share our values. And sometimes we need a governor who will say, we think you might be more comfortable in California, maybe.
Yeah, no, I get it. So zooming out, you're not opposed to offering incentives for companies to come here, but it's a case-by-case basis.
I think that's exactly right. Okay. I think we need to be very choosy about the companies that we bring to Tennessee.
The education scholarships, of course, I know you've been traveling across the state talking about this with folks. Governor Lee has been expanding them as much as he can. There's been some in the state legislature and some outside of the state legislature that they've been asking this question about a rapid escalation in the number of scholarships. Do you believe there is enough evidence to show that this has been a success before we continue to try to expand this program?
No, I don't think there's been enough evidence. Now, I will back up and say, I think as I visit with Tennesseans again across the state, Tennesseans support the idea of giving parents choices. They
very popular.
Want parents to have choices, and I'm totally in favor of that. I've got young kids myself. My wife and I have made the choice to send our sons to public school, and so far, we feel very good about that. We live in rural Smith County, and our son just finished the second grade. Our youngest son starts kindergarten this fall. And so we have found that public schools are serving our interests, and we feel good with the results we've gotten. But there are certainly school districts across the state that are failing. We most notably probably Memphis, Shelby County. The state has had to, I think, made the difficult but correct decision to take over there and try to get Shelby County, Memphis City schools on track. So I think that, we want to accommodate choice, and certainly our legislature has gone down the path of the, education freedom scholarships, and they've increased those this year. I think we need to take stock of whether that's working, and we need to be sure we have the measurements with which to know, is that working, and is it affording parents that otherwise might not have a choice a chance to really have a choice for their kids. So, I know a certain number of those have been allocated for low-income Tennesseans to try to make sure they have, first dibs, if you will, at those scholarships to get their kids out of bad situations and into good situations. We do have to measure. We have to keep score, and I think there needs to be greater transparency about what's happening with the program, who is getting, which families are getting those scholarships, which are not, and how is that decision being made. And then ultimately we have to have a rigorous measure, and we have to keep track of whether or not this is driving outcomes more broadly. So today, 89% of our kids are going to graduate from a Tennessee public school. If this isn't helping to improve outcomes there, and if as policymakers we're not working hard to make sure that our public schools are delivering better outcomes, then ultimately, no matter what happens for those kids we're able to give choices to, the parents that are able to avail themselves of these scholarships, we'll still be failing as a state. So ultimately, that's the real measure, is are we lifting the outcomes for all students?
Do you think the vouchers right now, with the data that we do know, are they helping or hurting the public schools? The scores have been actually going up the last few years in the public schools.
That's right, and that's the really good news. And most Tennesseans are probably not fully dialed into that unless their kids are in schools and they're looking at this closely. We have seen dramatic progress, and my hat goes off to Governor Lee, Governor Haslam before him, for the changes that they've made that have helped to propel our schools and the outcomes. We're improving in real terms. We're improving in relative terms. The State Collaborative on Reforming Education, one of the school reform groups in Tennessee, has this statistic that I think is very insightful, and that is from where we are today with the improvements that we've made, coming from the back of the pack to the middle of the pack where we are today. If we were able to get one more kid in each classroom each year to attainment levels, we're not talking star of the class, we're just talking performing at the levels that we set as the bar for are you getting what you need. One more student per classroom each year, and we did that 8 years in a row, Tennessee would be in the top 10 nationally in all measures for educational outcomes. So that's the goal. And I think we've got to continue to work to get there. And, if I'm elected to be the next governor, I've made one promise. Number one is that I've made is that we're going to have a commissioner of education who spent time teaching in a Tennessee public school. And I don't say that to be, negative or critical about our previous education commissioners, because they've been, well-educated, accomplished people. But I think we're asking them to lead a public education system in Tennessee where teachers need some sense that the leader that they're following understands what it's like to be in the trenches. And so that's one of the reasons I've made that commitment. And it's well received across the state, I will tell you. But we also need a governor who won't just delegate away the responsibility here, because we've got to make sure that our standards and the testing that we do are getting to the right answer for improving outcomes for Tennesseans. But importantly, and I think sometimes left out, is between those standards and that testing is the curriculum.
Yeah.
And I think we've got to have a governor who's invested in making sure that we have a curriculum that's appropriate for Tennessee schools, that matches up with our standards and the testing that we do, and also matches up well with our values. We don't need to be teaching our kids religions ahead of the religions that are prominent here in Tennessee. And so, today a lot of our curriculum, teach religions like Islam and Hinduism and Buddhism to the exclusion of Christianity and Judaism. And that I think is inexcusable.
Do you think that our testing right now as it is, and I don't know the answer to this question, but do you think the testing right now matches the curriculum in the state of Tennessee?
It does not. Okay. So we allow local school systems, and I don't think this is a bad thing. Local school districts get to pick their curriculum, but the curriculum providers that are out there, the curriculum that's available to choose from, is all being developed by a small number of curriculum providers, and none of it is fully written or synced up with what our standards are here or with what our values are in Tennessee. And so one of the things I would tell you is I think the next governor has to take a hard look at either incentivizing the private sector to provide us with a curriculum that suits our interests as Tennesseans.
Forgive me, is it boilerplate? Is that kind of what they provide to us? Is somewhat speaking the curriculum that they provide and the testing that they provide? Is it like boilerplate?
I think it's just that these independent curriculum providers, the ones that develop it, they're not necessarily tracked to our standards or to our values, and so they're putting a product out there that nationally they think they can sell, but it's not really tailored for Tennessee. And a lot of times these are companies out of California or the Northeast or the upper Midwest that just are places that just don't match our values, or are developed by companies that are not interested in syncing up with Tennessee values.
7:26, running a little late. Worth it, though. Congressman John Rose is joining us talking about Tennessee issues as he runs for the governorship of Tennessee. Where am I, John? Tennessee.
You're in Tennessee.
We were talking about California like earlier today. Now my mind is.
I think I would have no chance in California.
Well, trust me, neither would I at this point, and that's where I'm from. All right, it is 7:26. Joan's got the news coming up at 7:30. Joan.
Yeah, we are seeing a batch of thunderstorms moving just near Smyrna this morning, a little more in Woodbury. It all is continuing this morning as a flash flood watch continues as well. We'll have the latest with Stefano for you coming up in the news at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis. If you're one of those guys that is embarrassed to find out if you actually have low T, go talk to somebody who's actually done some treatments. They'll tell you it is life-changing. I'm here to tell you the place you need to go is the Low T Center. Now, if you're feeling like you're just not the guy that you used to be, maybe you're tired, you don't have the energy that you once did, go to the Low T Center, man, because they've helped a lot of guys just like you. Countless men across America and Tennessee getting their lives back through high-quality testosterone therapy. Low T Center set the standard that other clinics are still trying to measure up to. Again, there's nothing wrong with just going in and getting the tests. Now, they've got the highest quality testosterone on the market. It is pharmaceutical grade, and it's going to make you feel great. Again, there's no shame in just checking them out for yourself. They've got a variety of peptides to help you with muscle tone, recovery, sleep, weight loss, and a whole lot more because you're worth it. Check out lowtcenter.com right now. You can choose self-pay or insurance and have your treatment shipped right to your door. Check them out online and book your appointment today and get your life back, guys. Come on. lowtcenter.com is the website, lowtcenter.com. As always, tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out, lowtcenter.com. Dan Mandis here for Dr. Horn. You've heard me talk about my cataract surgery at Vision for Life. And again, it has been life-changing. Now, I didn't even realize how much my vision was holding me back until I had clear sight again. So reading small print these days, not a problem. Driving at night, not a problem. No more halos or blurry lights. Watching TV, working, even just being outside. Colors are brighter, details are sharper, and I do feel more confident in everything that I do post-procedure. I didn't notice how much I was compensating before. I just thought that I was getting older, squinting and adjusting and avoiding things that I used to enjoy. Now, these days, I feel like I've gotten a new lease on life, and my only regret is that I didn't do it sooner. Now, if you're where I was, tired of struggling with your vision, do what I did and talk to Dr. Horn and the team at Vision for Life. They are the best at what they do, and they truly do care. Take it from me. Schedule your consultation today, 615-436-2020, 615-436-2020. Find them online anytime. It is visionforlife.com, visionforlife.com. You know, I'm a customer for just about all of the businesses that I endorse, and that is certainly true with DT McCall's. Now, anytime I need something in my home, we go to dtmccalls.com. Whether I need a washer and a dryer, a dishwasher, oven, refrigerator, you name it, I go to dtmccalls.com, check out their website first thing. I've bought a refrigerator from DT McCall's, a dishwasher, I think a washer and a dryer as well. I've been a customer for, I think, 12 years over there at DT McCall's. I was actually a customer before I was an endorser. Now, I like to say that at DT McCall's, they do provide the trifecta, right? Great prices, great selection in brands, and terrific customer service. DT McCall's, they've been helping folks out in Middle Tennessee for 4 generations. That is over 100 years of treating people right. This is why I like DT McCall's. If you need anything, you need indoor furniture, you need lawn and garden equipment, you need appliances, whether we're talking about kitchen appliances or, again, a washer and dryer set, they've got it. Great prices, best brands at DT McCall's. They've got my seal of approval. Check them out, dtmccalls.com. 5 locations across Middle Tennessee, Carthage, Cookeville, Lebanon, and Lafayette, and Franklin. That website, one more time. First place you need to go anytime you need something for your home, dtmccalls.com.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories and scattered thunderstorms this morning. Stefano tells us they could cause some flooding issues.
Some of these storms are going to have very heavy rainfall. You step outside this morning, you're going to feel how humid it is out there. There's a lot of moisture in the atmosphere these storms can use to bring torrential rainfall, which could eventually cause flash flooding.
All of Middle Tennessee is under a flash flood watch, but some areas won't see any rain at all, according to Stefano. Our high today is a muggy 83 degrees and a warning not to drive through flooded out roads. Iran's military has just agreed to stop its military strikes against Israel after the two countries traded strikes overnight for the first time since a ceasefire was agreed to in April. Tehran, however, warning it will resume hostilities if Israel continues its operations in Lebanon. President Trump saying that negotiations on a peace agreement will continue despite the strikes overnight. Petitions against a proposed AI data center near the zoo attracting some 300,000 signatures. Channel 4's Braden Ross on what's behind the anger.
One of those proposals comes from a company called DC Blocks, which is looking to build a nearly 70,000 square foot data center in a business park right next door to the Nashville Zoo. On Wednesday, the zoo launched an online petition against the project, which has racked up more than 280,000 signatures to date. And Saturday, country star Brad Paisley added his name to that list and took to social media to call the proposal a, quote, nightmare scenario.
Now, DC Blocks responding, saying it uses closed loop or waterless cooling designs to conserve water. It says it'll test and manage noise and shield light fixtures as well. That is the latest news. Your traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis. Rheumatoid arthritis is a debilitating disease affecting thousands of people. Now, if you're one of them, you've got to listen to me right now because you know the pain can be excruciating and the remedies, well, they're few and far between. But science and clinical studies now show that patients suffering from rheumatoid arthritis can be helped using red light therapy. And for some time, I've been talking about my friends at Contours LLC. They've been around for 5 years now, and they have a great history of using red light technology to solve your problems. Their RLT is safe, painless, and instantaneous. It is inexpensive, non-invasive. It's not going to hurt you, and no, there is no downtime. So, if you suffer from rheumatoid arthritis and you've never tried red light therapy, ask your rheumatologist or a care provider if RLT could work for you. Or call my friends at Contours LLC, 615-236-9960, 615-236-9960. Find them online anytime, contoursllc.com. After all, what have you got to lose but the pain? Dan Mandis here for the Generator Super Center. You know how many ways we can lose power, of course. Ice and ice storms, snow, tornadoes. But there's one surefire way to get that power back on. That is a backup generator from the Generator Super Center. Now, the Generator Super Center is the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. Now, they do feature turnkey installation, certified electricians and plumbers, maintenance and service after the install, and a whole lot more. Now, let me tell you basically how one of these backup generators works. The power goes out in your neighborhood. The power in your home is going to turn it right back on thanks to your backup generator. Now, if you're one of the many families talking about a backup generator, talk to the pros at the Generator Super Center. Another reason, by the way, to love these generators from the Generator Super Center is their generators are made right here in the USA. They'll never leave you in the dark. Financing is available. They are waiting for your call. Tell them Dan told you to reach out, 615-879-1952, 615-879-1952, Generator Super Center of Nashville.com, Generator Super Center of Nashville.com.
There's an accident in Richland Park being worked on at 46th Avenue North, south of Charlotte Avenue. Also in Cross Plains, 65 South, past Gallatin Cross Plains. There's an accident involving injuries with EMS on response in that area. It's an SUV that has gone off the roadway. Careful in that area. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.738 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. And Congressman John Rose is with us in studio and doing something a little bit different here on Nashville's Morning News. Is we are just talking all Tennessee topics here. Of course, Congressman Rose running to be the governor for the great state of Tennessee. And we've already touched on a lot of topics. And there's a couple of other places that I do want to go. Of course, Governor Lee famously bringing the National Guard into Memphis to try and curb the crime there, and he certainly did. That, along with other federal and state agencies that comprise the Memphis Safe Task Force. One of the things that I would say is that Governor Lee didn't do this until relatively late in his second term. Personally, I don't think he was aggressive enough. He should have done it far sooner. But would you continue, if you were elected governor, would you continue with this level of law enforcement, and would you bring that same mentality to Nashville?
Well, I think we would certainly try to continue to achieve the outcome that we've seen in Memphis, but I think it's probably unrealistic to do it the way that we're doing it right now with the surge of federal authorities that requires federal cooperation. We welcome that, of course, but I think it's unrealistic to think that continues indefinitely. And I think while the National Guard, I think, has been a welcome presence in Memphis, and the success speaks for itself. We've seen crime there drop by nearly 50%. But we've got to figure out in the long run, how do we help Shelby County? How do we ensure that Shelby County, Memphis, is aggressively pursuing crime and keeping that crime rate under control? And I think that's going to require a governor that's willing to roll up their sleeves, spend time in Memphis, spend time working with local authorities, perhaps provocatively changing our laws in Tennessee to make it so that when a locality is failing to get the job done, that the state can step in a dramatic way and change the direction of what's happening. I mean, what we see in Memphis, and some degree in Nashville, is what 30 or 40 years or more of single-party rule gets you. And we've got to get serious about crime in Shelby County. So I don't think it's so much a police problem as it is a local leadership problem, a court problem, i.e. the judges, and of course the prosecutor there, and
Steve
even
Mulroy,
the court clerk. Yeah,
that dude's a train wreck.
Yes, and so when the objective is restorative justice and not justice, I think you see what you're getting.
So are you worried that if we ultimately end up with fewer law enforcement in Memphis, that the crime will slowly, gradually start getting worse again?
I don't think there's any question. If you continue to do what they were doing before the surge happened, that President Trump brought to Memphis with the governor's cooperation and involvement, I think when that ends, we would see, I think, crime start to rise again. So it requires a systemic solution, a long-term solution. And so ultimately, I think the next governor's got to put some political capital on the line in Shelby County, in Memphis, to say, we're going to fix this city. We need to fix Memphis. Imagine where Tennessee as a state would be if Shelby County, Memphis was performing as well as Nashville and other parts of our state. So we need to get Memphis back on track. It's a fantastic city. If you go there and you see the history and you think about where this city was 2 or 3 decades ago or more, it was a real engine for the whole Mid-South, often called the capital of the Mid-South, not just Southwest Tennessee, but areas beyond. And it could be an economic engine for that whole region and for Tennessee. And so we need to get Memphis back on track.
One of the things I've heard people say on the other side of the aisle is, and I'm going to paraphrase, but we can't jail our way out of our crime problems. Basically saying that you can't just put a bunch of people in jail and believe that you're solving the crime problems. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it is more than just criminal justice. I think you have to have education right, for example, in Memphis, and I think the legislature and the governor are on the right track there. We've got to get schools on track. You can't have a 50% truancy rate and expect those kids that are not in schools and not learning to not be part of the problem, because I think they will be, and they are, and they have been. And so we've got, it's a bigger question, and we've ultimately got to require or incentivize Memphians to understand how they get their whole culture back on track there around crime and around education, inspiring those kids in Memphis to see what the future could hold for them. For goodness sakes, they've got the most powerful supercomputer in the world in their backyard. That should be enough evidence to them that there are huge opportunities for them. And we just need a leader who will inspire them, I believe, and be willing to take the tough actions. With respect to criminal justice as part of the answer, though, I think we've seen over and over again that where criminal justice is not being done well, and you can pick the cities out across the country, Chicago, L.A., et cetera, where they are doing with Soros-funded DAs what's happening in Memphis, it's not working. And so we got to get back on track. And we have the historic example with when Mayor Giuliani was running New York and he had kind of a broken windows policy there. It worked. It worked. Some of us are old enough to remember being in Times Square before Giuliani cleaned things up. Many of us have been there after he cleaned things up. And now it's unfortunately reverting to what it was at one point. And so law enforcement and tough criminal justice works. There does need to be, more than that.
So we've had a state legislature in the state look at Shelby County schools, Memphis schools, with that to take over. You mentioned the truancy. The truancy rates, I don't have them in front of me, but suffice to say that in Shelby County, the truancy rates are off the charts. And I would assume that you agree that not only did Memphis need to be taken over, but, what do you think of some of these other districts that possibly need to be taken over as well? Are you satisfied with the way that the state legislature and the governor, Governor Lee, are dealing with the problem of these problematic districts?
Well, I think probably with Shelby County, and this is Monday morning quarterbacking, but it probably should have happened sooner. We probably should have gotten serious about it a while, because we've failed a whole generation of kids there, and we'll be paying a penalty for that for years to come. And so I think what we have to keep in mind is that cities, counties exist as administrative instrumentalities of the state. It's the state that's the sovereign, and ultimately we can't just abandon these places to crash into oblivion. The state's got to step in, and certainly that's true for our larger cities, but it's true all across the state. So I think when we see a local government failing to get the job done, then the state has an obligation to step in and make sure they get the job done. That's what's happening in Shelby County. We could do that in the criminal justice arena, but our Constitution doesn't give the state the same leeway that we have with schools. So you can't just go in and take over in the same way. We should fix that, in my humble opinion, and that would be a proposal I would make if I was governor, is to ultimately amend our Constitution so that the state can, when it needs to, step in and solve some of those problems.
More with Congressman John Rose straight ahead, 7:45. Time to check the roads on WTN.
There's a crash with emergency crews on the scene. No problems on 24 or 40. No unusual delays on 440. I'm Christy O'Brien.
Flash flood watch for all of Middle Tennessee. Possible storms this morning. It's raining now, clearing by this afternoon, and a high of 83. Appreciate you listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, so let's go through a couple of other topics real quick. Nuclear energy and Tennessee. Are you satisfied with where we are currently with that? And do you want to see us become even more aggressive?
Well, I'm not satisfied with where we are, both in Tennessee and around the country, but we do have to give some credit to the Tennessee Valley Authority, some decisions from the past that have paid off in that we get a bigger percentage of our power today from nuclear energy than almost anywhere else, frankly, anywhere else in the country. And so that we should be thankful for. We've got to do more. Obviously, we're turning businesses away from Tennessee. I say obviously, a lot of people don't realize this. Today, Tennessee is turning businesses away because we can't promise them the power that they need. And that's happening around the country. And so we've got to get really serious about this. We're in a good place to start with, but we've got to bring more new nuclear to Tennessee. Governor Lee has done a fantastic job in this area, I think, of kind of spurring that on. In the time I've been in Congress, and I am chairman of the TVA caucus in Congress, and I have made it my business to get as educated and informed about nuclear as I can. There's some debate about the best path forward, but generally there's a consensus that small modular reactors is one of the ways that we can increase our nuclear generation capacity. Tennessee's in a leadership role, you might say the pole position, with respect to small modular reactors. We've got the first in the nation site permitted at Clinch River near Oak Ridge. And they've applied for a construction permit, and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission assures me that they're going to give us a yes on that permit this fall. There's still some details to be worked out. It's a first-of-a-kind project, and those are always expensive. So we don't want the ratepayers of Tennessee, of the Tennessee Valley, to have to pick up the full tab for being the guinea pig and for going first. So the federal government's got to have some skin in the game here. But I think that's a positive first step. So I hope that we can keep that project moving forward. We've got to build a lot of new nuclear in Tennessee, and I think President Trump is committed to that. President Trump, by the way, has done us a big favor by rolling back some of the Clean Air Act regulations that were put in place during the Obama administration, added to during the Biden administration, that have frankly saved us from having to shut down perfectly good power plants here in Tennessee, both at the Cumberland Fossil plant up northwest of Nashville, and also at the Kingston Steam plant over between Crossville and Knoxville. So that buys us a little bit of extra time, but ultimately we've got to build a lot of nuclear power generation in this country, and hopefully a lot of it will be built here in Tennessee. And so I'm excited about that. I think Tennessee has to continue to make itself kind of put out the doormat, welcoming people to come here and experiment with the next generation nuclear plants, and making sure then that TVA has the support that it needs and the financing ability that it needs to build that next generation of nuclear plants here in Tennessee.
Rural hospitals is a very big deal. WTN, we're 100,000 watts. We're heard all over the state. A lot of these rural communities have reached out to me, and they're worried about their hospitals. The left is trying to tell us that Republicans are gutting Medicaid and Medicare, and they say that we're not trying to fix it. I believe that we are trying to fix Medicaid and Medicare. At the end of the day, though, we do have rural hospitals in danger of closing or cutting services. What can we do to protect, as governor, to protect those rural hospitals in the state of Tennessee?
Sure, and just to, I guess, add on a little bit to the dire nature of the problem, Tennessee has lost more rural hospitals over the last 10 years or so than any other state other than Texas. So it's a real problem here. I represent in Congress today, a job I'm not seeking re-election to, but I say this because I think it informs how I, as governor, could help to address this problem. But my district, 19 counties, 5 of those 19, this is the old 6, not the new 6th. This is the district that I still represent, by the way. That change doesn't happen until the next Congress, and some people are confused by that. But we have 5 counties that don't have a rural hospital, and so we've been addressing this. We have 2 that have lost their hospitals in recent years. And so early on in my service in Congress, I got very much involved in trying to help particularly Fentress County with this problem where their hospital had closed down. And so we found a solution there working. It was a group effort, but we found a solution which is a partnership between Fentress County and the University of Tennessee Medical Center, and they've stood up with the help that we brought them, both in terms of figuring out how to do it and in finding the financing to do it. They brought in a standalone emergency room and clinic there, and it's working spectacularly. It is a role model, I think, or an example of how we can address this problem across the state. I was recently pleased to be at the groundbreaking ceremony in McNairy County, where they're going to do the same thing that we did in Fentress County. So I think this is a way to get emergency care close to people all across the state. It's one of the pledges that I've made as a candidate, is that we've got to make sure that we have health care close enough to the people who live across the state that they can get the help they need when they need it. And as you know, probably from past study of this issue, you've got to be within about 30 minutes of emergency care, or it's going to be life-threatening for a lot of people in dire circumstances. And so this is a problem that we've got to take on as a state. I think we can do it without breaking the bank. I will tell you, part of the reason that we have this problem is because Medicaid and Medicare are broken systems. This whole idea of single-payer government health care, it doesn't work. And we've proven that over a 40 or 50-year period. And so doubling down on that is the definition of insanity. You keep trying to do more of something that doesn't work. It's an insane approach.
Nashville Banner, I just saw this, has a headline: Trump says he will not endorse in Tennessee's governor's race despite relationships with Blackburn and John Rose. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm not surprised by that. He said that directly to me. In fact, Speaker Johnson and I visited with him a number of weeks ago, and he made that pledge to me. And then he reiterated that in a flight that I was on with a number of members of Congress when we were in Memphis for the Memphis Safe Task Force Roundtable. And so I think the president, I'll just tell you what he said to me, and I haven't gotten to read the article yet, but the president knows that I've been 100% loyal to him, and most notably, in his mind, in the moment, in his darkest hour, on January 6, 2021, when I was there, and my primary opponent in this race was not there for him. In fact, reneged on the promise to object to the election results in 6 states that had failed to follow their own laws. And so President Trump has a long memory. We all know that. I think he appreciates and rewards loyalty. Yeah. And so I think that's why he's staying out of this race.
So I'm just curious, why are you running for governor? Like you got a pretty good gig as a congressman. Why do you want to be governor?
Well, I'm coming home from Congress regardless. And when I ran, I had the commitment. I didn't say so because I didn't want to be a lame duck from day one. But my wife and I had discussed it, and we felt like you should go and serve for a while and come home. That's what I think the founders wanted. We decided at the time that 8 years was probably the right number, an arbitrary reason, because that's what George Washington did. So it may be a little bit corny, but that's why we thought you come home. You know, a lot of members of Congress talk about term limits. But then, they just keep on serving. In fact, one of my colleagues here in Tennessee, I won't call anyone's name out, but said recently, I'm for term limits and I will stay in Washington until we get them passed. And I think that was a lifetime commitment there. But what I saw in Washington is that the environment is corrosive. And if you stay there too long, you'll lose touch. And I would tell you, I believe my opponent here has lost touch at this point. And we could talk about all the reasons and indicators that show that. Why am I running for governor? I'm 61. I know I look more youthful than that, and I have a lot of energy and enthusiasm for this job, but I'm running for the same reason I ran for Congress. I think Tennessee's at a critical point, just as I think the country is. And I think I have some leadership left in me, and I think it matters a lot who the next governor is. I don't think that the job of being governor is a retirement job. I don't think we want to have somebody come home so they can be closer to home and relax a little bit. I think this will be the toughest job I've ever had. I think I'm at my best right now with the experiences I've had. The thing that I bring to the table that I think, and so I think it matters a lot who is the next governor, but the thing that I bring to the table that I think distinguishes me from not only the other Republican candidates, but all the other candidates is that the job of being governor is the job of being CEO of Tennessee. It's not a business, but it's got a lot of attributes that are like a business. So we need a leader who understands how to lead large organizations. I started my career by building a business from the ground up. And so I learned how to run a large organization with hands-on experience, on-the-job training, if you will, but I paid the stupid tax for that on-the-job training. I don't think Tennessee needs to hire a governor who's never done this kind of work. And the job of being a representative in Congress or the state legislature, those are very different jobs than the job of leading the state. I think Tennesseans get that. I think that's why we've hired governors in the past, and certainly the most successful governors who've brought business experience to the table. I think that's what Tennesseans ultimately will pick. And so I'm offering them that option to choose me as they consider who they would hire. You know, when I hire people, when I look at their resume, if they don't have the relevant experience for the job at hand, we don't even interview them. And so I would tell you, I think as you think about who the next governor will be, you should think about what's the job and who has the qualifications to do the job. And I submit that I have that experience and can bring that to bear for Tennessee.
JohnRose.com?
JohnRose.com.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us here on Super Talk 99.7. Good luck out on the campaign trail. I know you're a very busy guy. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Dan. It's great to be on the show this morning.
7:57. Joan was coming up in the news at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, coming up here, Dan, at 8 o'clock, we've got a bullet discovered in a baby's crib. This happened in Lebanon. We've got the story coming up for you at 8 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, if you're looking for a new car, look no further than Mid-10 Ford. Now, they are my new friends, but they're certainly not new to Middle Tennessee. You know, Mid-10 Ford, they've been here for 56 years. Selling cars, sure, but the reality is that they've been building relationships generation after generation. Now, at Mid-10 Ford, they've got a no-hassle, low-pressure approach to selling cars. No gimmicks, no pushy salespeople, just honest folks helping you find the right car for you and your family. Mid-10 Ford is the place to go to buy your new car or truck, and where you go to get it serviced as well. Yeah, they've even got a body shop. It is literally a one-stop shop for all things Ford cars and trucks. Mid-10 Ford has you covered and have been since 1969. So listen, if you are looking for a car right now, they're offering employee pricing to you. So you pay what their employees pay. That's a pretty good discount, friends. So stop by Mid-10 Ford, 1319 Foster Avenue. You can call them at 615-949-2737. Above all, find their website, mid10fordtrucks.com. That's mid10fordtrucks.com, or find them on Facebook and Instagram. Mid-10 Ford, where trust comes first. Tell him Dan Mandis told you to reach out.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. All of Middle Tennessee under a flash flood watch for heavy thunderstorms today. We'll have more with Stefano right after the news. Iran's military agreeing to stop its military strikes against Israel after those two countries traded strikes overnight for the first time since a ceasefire was agreed to in April. Tehran, however, also warning that it will resume hostilities if Israel continues its operations in Lebanon. President Trump saying negotiations on a peace agreement will continue despite the strikes overnight. In Lebanon over the weekend, a bullet was discovered in a baby's crib. Happened at an apartment at the Limestone Trail apartment complex. Channel 4's Holly Thompson picks it up from there.
Thankfully, no one was hurt in this, but officers say a 14-year-old accidentally fired that gun inside that other apartment. Well, the weapon was later found in that teen's closet. When officers discovered it was reported stolen earlier this month, well, then the situation escalated.
Yeah, police say that teen became combative with the officers and a guardian spit on the officers. Both were taken into custody. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. We're looking at stock futures on the plus side now. Dow futures plus 110, NASDAQ futures gaining 442, S&P futures are up 57 points. A check of oil this morning. Oil's still up. Oil trading right now at $91 a barrel. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. White House, you got a traffic accident at 65 North past Springfield, White House Road, exit 108. EMS responding there to a crash in the right shoulder. You've got another one this morning out at the airport, 40 eastbound past Donaldson Pike. The right entrance lane is blocked off. You've got a crash on 24 East in Antioch. This is at Harding Place with the right lane blocked off there. And one more, it's in Ashland City, River Road near Cumberland Street. That's blocked off because of a fallen tree. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.806. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And welcome on in to your Monday. It is June 8th, raining outside. And on the Newsmaker Hotline, Courtney Johnston, Metro City Council. Courtney, always great to have you on. I am fascinated by this story about the data center next to the zoo. So this is your district?
Yes.
Okay, so just so you know where I'm coming from, like this doesn't seem like it's your typical Republican versus Democrat, right versus left kind of a thing. It seems like people of all stripes, the more people that I talk to that are on my side, conservatives, they're against this thing, and clearly the leftists are as well. At least it seems to me. So when did you find out that there was this massive data center that was, planned on being built right next to the zoo?
There have been rumblings about it for a while, but the current ownership, when they communicated it to me, did not think that this would go through, that the sale would go through to DC Blocks, which I never knew who the actual purchaser was until they filed the permit. When they filed for a grading permit, that was still not even owning the property. That was when I knew that they were, in my opinion, operating in bad faith. That to me is very aggressive to pull grading permits, demolition, or apply for them anyway, and a building permit before they even own the property. Just an expedited timeline. And so that's what's caused such alarm. And you're right, it is across the board. It's been a really long time since everyone has been on the same page, and really been reaching out across all avenues to say, what can I do? And not just complain about it, but offering their expertise, offering prior experience to try to be a part of the solution to stop this. And it's not necessarily no data centers ever. Certainly there's that group of people, but mostly it's we don't want this next to our zoo or our neighborhood.
I think the zoo, and I've been here 12 years. I've been to the zoo probably a dozen times. I love the zoo. 305,000 signatures, this online petition to stop this. I don't know if that has any bearing on anything, but in talking to the zoo and reading about the kind of animals that they have at the zoo, we were talking earlier about the clouded leopard. Apparently, we've spent quite a bit of money and time breeding this particular leopard. We've got like 50 of them now. They're very sensitive to light and noise pollution. The people at the zoo say that they've got like 3,000 animals there, I guess. I didn't realize it was that many. So I guess that this would have a negative impact on the animals, especially at night.
Well, and I think that's part of the question here, which is what are the impacts? And what we're hearing from DC Blocks is that, listen, this is no big deal. We're going to mitigate sound and we're going to mitigate the noise and all that. And what the application that they've filed for the building permit is just for this 69,000 square foot general data center. But that's not what they've actually filed. If you really dig into the permit that they have applied for, this is not just a 69,000 square foot data center. Their own materials have a planned data center on this 23-acre site, the initial 10 megawatt data center, but there's a future 3-story 40 megawatt data center, a dedicated substation, separate generator yards for each data center, stormwater basins, guardhouse, internal access roads, loading docks, tons of parking, utilities, fencing. I mean, this is a really big operation that they are planning, and they're minimizing it by saying, hey, look, it's just this one thing, but they're planning on phasing it, and that's literally in the documentation that they filed. It was a 200-page piece of documentation that they filed. And so it's like, you know, I have the ability, everybody does, has the ability to look into these permits, and I certainly can read. And so please do not question my intelligence by thinking that I can't look in to see what your exact plans are and that I'm just going to believe you that it's just this one relatively small data center in your phase one.
Knowing you as I know you from many years, you are the right person for the job to deal with this. Trust me on that. The people in your district are very lucky to have you. Let me ask you this. when you found out, because it sounds like it's a bait and switch that they're trying to sort of phase in, but they're not really being honest about what they're wanting to do. Have you gone back and have you spoken to them a second time or a third time and said, look, I know what you're trying to do. Why aren't you necessarily being open and honest about what you eventually want this data center to be and how large you want it to be?
Based off of conversations that I've had with people that have actually talked to them, I'm not interested in talking to them. I'm looking at what they're doing. What they say and what they do are two different things. And so I'm looking at what they do. And what they have filed and what I can read shows that this is a much larger operation that they have planned. They've operated in bad faith. So to me, to have a conversation with someone that operates that way is a waste of my time. I'm going to see what you do, and I'm going to do everything I can to protect my community. And so that's where I'm at with this. Right now, Davidson County does not have data center as a land use defined in our code. And so they're slipping this under, categorizing it as general office. And that's what our zoning administrator has to do. If there's not a defined use, he has to fit the square peg in the round hole. And that's in general office is what they're putting this under. A data center is not a general office building. Sure, there will be some offices in there, but the main use for that property is not an office building. And so it's just, we need to properly define this use in our code, not to say, hey, we love data centers, but we cannot control or regulate what we have not defined in our code. So that's the bill that is going through the process now. It was introduced on first reading last week. Unfortunately, my moratorium was blocked by the same person that filed the bill. The moratorium, the purpose of that is to say, hey, let's stop for a moment. Let's have a temporary pause on development around data centers until we can properly define it so that we know exactly what we're looking at and we can figure out where they are appropriate based off of their size and scale and where they are not appropriate. We need to do that work. And it's going to take some time. And I don't mean years, I mean, a few months. So that's what the moratorium did. I'm going to file it late again tomorrow, and hopefully I won't have the objections that I did last week, and so that we can get this on first reading, because it is a 3-reading ordinance as well to stop that. But this is about moving forward responsibly. Data centers are here to stay. There's no question about that. They are going to be here, and there are going to be more and more of them because we are just more and more reliant on technology and all of this stuff, right? And so what we know, for that to be true, we need to operate and move forward responsibly, and we can't do that if we don't have it in our code. So that is my next order of business tomorrow for our special called meeting. I'm going to late file that moratorium. Hopefully that starts that process, and then we can really start digging into this policy. The policy that has been brought forth defines data center, but it has several loopholes as I'm reading through it that would allow even this particular development to go through right next to the zoo. So I'm working on several amendments to close those loopholes and to make sure that our policy is as well-rounded and well thought out as possible. I'm interested in getting it right, not necessarily just getting it done. And so that's the order of business. I know that the zoo is looking at other avenues to stop this, and we need to have some experts come in and say what, based off of the actual scale and scope of the entire project, not just this first phase that they're trying to minimize. What are the impacts on our zoo, on our neighborhoods, on our electrical grid? I mean, we just went through a horrible situation in January, February related to electricity. Can our grid even handle that kind of pull? And certainly in our area with my substations, right? Yep. That work needs to be done, and it hasn't been because it's slipping under general office, which usually has a pretty low impact.
Courtney Johnson is with us talking about this possible data center next to the zoo that is in her district. More with Courtney coming up next. It is 8:15. Time to check the roads quickly on WTN. Flash flood watch for all of Middle Tennessee. Possible storms this morning, clearing by this afternoon. High of 83. All right, so Courtney, where's the mayor on all of this? Is he part of the solution here?
I don't know the answer to that. He has expressed concern. He and I don't necessarily see eye to eye, so having a conversation is probably not going to happen. But I've heard, and he's been public about it. I think he went on some station or had some sort of press conference where he expressed concern. What is he going to do? I have absolutely no idea. And so I don't operate waiting on him to do anything. I'm doing what I need to do to try to stop this. Number one, I just don't think, and everybody that I've talked to doesn't think that this is the right development right next to the zoo. And also to put it in our code so that we are more prepared as we know that these things are going to be coming more and more often.
Is there a different place that this could be built as opposed to right next to the zoo?
I mean, certainly there's, Davidson County is quite large, and Middle Tennessee in general is quite large. And I'm sure that there are places. I mean, there was someone on social media that said, why not put this out next to the airport where it's already loud? There's not a lot of residential right close to there. I don't know, what the answer is. I know that this particular parcel has been on the market, that the ownership has been trying to sell it for quite some time. And to get 23 acres in the middle of Davidson County for the price that I'm assuming it is, which is roughly $25 million, is a pretty darn good deal. And that's probably why they are really being aggressive about getting this property. But like I've told them through other channels and I've put on social media, proceed at your own risk. Because if we get done what we need to get done before their building permit is issued, they're dead in the water. So if they want to waste $25 million, go ahead and close.
So what's the timeline here? It sounds like you're trying to beat them to the punch. Am I interpreting that right?
Yeah, I mean, we need to have this moratorium in place, to get our policy in place before any development for any data center anywhere goes into place. That is my opinion. We don't have it defined in our code, and these are much different than a general office, which is where we're putting it. We have to do that regardless of this proposed development at the zoo or not. And so there's a pan out view of, hey, look, this isn't the only data center that is coming or that is going to come or that is here. We've got to properly be prepared for it. And so let's get that work done. But yes, it is a race against time at this point, because if a building permit is issued, that project is vested. I have also, in addition to the moratorium, I have filed an appeal against the zoning administrator's classification of general office. And so I'll be going before the Board of Zoning Appeals in order to have my case done there. And if the BZA sides with me, that building permit is also dead in the water. And so coming at it from several different angles. And you would think that they would say, hey, I think they were on Good Morning America. They've had Aaron Brockovich talk about it. They've had, country music stars talk about it. This is nationwide news at this point. And for them to not be able to read the room or to not care, to say, hey, you're right, we want to be a part of the community. Let's figure out where we are going to be welcomed and where is the best place for us to do our business. And that's just not the way that they're operating at this moment.
Yeah, Brad Paisley is speaking out against this, and perhaps there's others as well. So, okay, have I failed to ask any relevant question?
I don't think so. I think, there's a lot of ways that we're fighting against it, and there's also lots of ways that we are trying to get our code so that we can properly move forward in a responsible way with data centers, because we know that they're here to stay. And so it's just a lot of moving parts right now.
The Board of Zoning Appeals, last question. I appreciate you being on with us. The Board of Zoning Appeals, do you feel like everybody is circling the wagons and on the same page that, okay, we need to find a different site?
In my opinion, absolutely. The only people that think that this is I mean, I'm sure there's people that support it and are not worried about data centers, but the overwhelming majority of people do not want this near our zoo. And so, like I said, I was really astonished by it, as in a world where we can't ever agree on anything. This is one thing that so many people agree on and are really, to your point, circling the wagons and really locking arms and saying, this isn't what we want for our community. And please stop.
All right, very good. Will you just keep me posted on, I know you're on with Matt Murphy all the time too, just let us know how things are going and what we can do to help.
I will do it. Thanks so much, Dan.
All right, have a good, that's Courtney Johnston. It is 8:23, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. There's a lot there, Joan. There is a lot, but you know what? I get Courtney and I go way back. If there's one person that is best for this job, it is Courtney, man. You don't mess with Courtney Johnston. You can put that on a bumper sticker.
I like the way she's tackling this from several different angles.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah.
Somebody said, who is this? 9751, Courtney Johnston for mayor.
Oh, you know
what? Here's the problem.
She'd get some stuff done.
Well, she would, but I think she would terrify the liberals of Nashville. She really would.
Yeah.
Like Nashville, it is clear that Nashville likes Pansy A mayors, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So there is that. I forgot to ask Courtney about the big new exhibit that they're building at the zoo that has the orangutans, the animals of Indonesia.
Okay.
You got the orangutans, you got that clouded leopard, and some of these other things. They're investing $65 million in this new exhibit at the zoo. And I mean, it's a lot of money to invest into an exhibit where the animals are going to be freaked out by all the noise and the light. And I do like our zoo. People are like, oh, the Nashville Zoo sucks. The Nashville Zoo does not suck. I don't think so anyway. You know what? Hey, Sam, let's do a real quick Daily Dan poll. Does the Nashville Zoo suck? Yes or no? Because I love the Nashville Zoo. All right, it is 8:24, Super Talk 99.7, and Joan has the news coming up at 8:30. Joan.
Yeah, there is a frightening recall to tell you about. It's on a product used every day for babies. It's coming up here at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. It is 8:24, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super text line is open, 615-737-9986. Want to tell you about my friends at Brentwood Jewelry. Listen, Father's Day is coming up. And if you are stuck on what to get dear old dad for Father's Day, my wife got me a great watch from Brentwood Jewelry a couple of years ago. It is my all-time favorite watch. And if you're stuck with what to get dear old dad for Father's Day, they've got your watches, they've got your cufflinks, they've got rings, tie tacks, they've got tie bars, money clips, keychains. They got all kinds of great stuff at Brentwood Jewelry. You want to check them out. And they're at 7012 Church Street East, located in the heart of Brentwood, just off Franklin Road. It doesn't have to be Father's Day. It can be any time you need a special gift for a special someone. Go to my special place, Brentwood Jewelry. Again, 7012 Church Street East, located in the heart of Brentwood. They've got hours, special hours these days, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Brentwood Jewelry, exceptional style, exceptional deals every day for over 50 years. Check them out online, BrentwoodJewelry.com. 826 on Super Talk 99.7. Dan Mandis here, lifelong dog owner. I have seen all kinds of behaviors with my animals, a lot of bad ones. Now, I bet you have too. Now, if you've got a dog that does need some behavior training, my buddy Jeff and his crew at Ridgeside K9 Nashville, they can help you. Aggression, potty problems, anxiety, basic obedience. They can help your dog with just about anything. Now, what I love about Ridgeside Canine Nashville is that they do believe that owner education is just as important as dog training, and long-term success with your dog begins with you. And Ridgeside Canine Nashville, they've got a lifetime support guarantee. They are there for you 24/7. So make 2026 the year that your dog listens. Call Jeff today, 615-878-0380, 615-878-0380. Find them online, rsk9nash.com, the letter K, the number 9, rsk9nash.com. Ridgeside Canine Nashville, veteran-owned, proven results, and guaranteed for life.
Good morning. It's now 8:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. And our top story this morning is really the weather. We're looking at some thunderstorms moving through this morning. Right now, they're in Gallatin. There's one in Lebanon. You've also got one approaching the Sparta area. Now, these thunderstorms are expected to produce some heavy downpours. There's a flash flood watch throughout the Middle Tennessee area all throughout the day. Keep that in mind as you're traveling this morning. The Los Angeles mayor's race has the president's attention. ABC's Hannah Batak carrying the water for the left here with her reporting on this morning.
Overnight, progressive candidate Nithya Rahman overtaking former reality TV star Spencer Pratt in the battle for second place in the Los Angeles mayor's race. Whoever takes second place advances to a runoff against incumbent Karen Bass. President Trump responding, slamming the state's slow ballot count, claiming without evidence that the election is rigged.
Without evidence, I'm sure you caught that. As of Sunday night's ballot drop in California, Rahman has now taken over Pratt for second place by 3,000 votes. President Trump using California to push Republican lawmakers to pass the Save America Act, which would restrict the use of mail-in ballots and expand voter ID. There is a frightening recall to tell you about here. Target is recalling 2 types of baby wipes due to concerns that they're contaminated with bacteria. Now, these are Up and Up fragrance-free baby wipes and Up and Up fresh cucumber scented baby wipes. Target says that after some were returned for discoloring, they were tested and found the presence of a bacteria that can cause serious and life-threatening infections. If you've got either of these baby wipes, stop using them immediately and return them to Target for a refund. Market numbers here brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. We're now trading on Wall Street, and right now the Dow Jones Industrial starting up 296 points, NASDAQ gaining 349, S&P 500 index is plus 66. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, longtime homeowner. As a matter of fact, I've bought and sold more homes than I can remember. I think it's about 9 or 10. But here's the deal. As a homeowner, I know as well as you do that things go wrong. You can have waterproofing issues, foundation issues, concrete leveling issues. All of these are problems that really do need to be fixed right away, even when times are tough. And that is why I so appreciate what United Structural Systems is doing these days. They are now offering you 24 months, no interest financing options. So if something goes wrong with your home, you can get it fixed right away because they do know the perils of waiting. You can't always wait for the economy to get better to get things fixed because a lot of the things that I just mentioned, waterproofing, foundation repair, concrete leveling, they get worse over time. So if you don't get it fixed right away, it's going to be a lot more expensive when you finally have the money. Why not get it done right away with USS, United Structural Systems? Again, 24 months, no interest financing options. That is good through the end of June. So you can fix it now and pay later. Call them. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. 615-488-7855. 615-488-7855. USSTN.com.
Got a crash in the East Bank area, Spring Street westbound at I-24. In Antioch, 24 eastbound at Harding Place, exit 56. A pickup off the road there. It struck a pole, and it's causing a lot of problems there. The right lane is blocked off by it. Ashland City River Road near Cumberland Street. It's blocked off there due to a fallen tree. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Now you're talking, Sam.
So are you just trying to score cheap Joan points with the bumper music?
It's on theme.
Did Ozzy do this?
Hang on, can
maybe
you guys
a cover?
stop talking? I can't hear it.
Metallica, maybe Megadeth, or... All right.
You hear that? That's Dan being removed from Spotify.
I was going to say, if that gets me removed from Spotify, totally not worth it.
We have a system in place now.
Do we?
Now.
Do we? Because
keyword now.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, I'm sorry, but I've heard that we've got a system for quite some time now, and then I get the nasty gram from corporate.
Hey, this whole building is trial and error. Okay.
Error is bold and underlined.
I was going to say operative word error. Anyway, whatever. Hello, Chris.
What's up, Dan?
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
You had an outstanding show on Friday.
Oh, well, thank you.
It was like, I was actually in the car because I'm usually like at home and in bed.
Yes.
You know, like
naturally.
Sometimes I actually sleep in my car on the way home. I have to pull over but anyway, but your show on Friday was really good. You had some great interviews.
Yeah, I was really happy with it, with Savannah Hernandez being inside the Carmelo Anthony trial, and then Bo and Gabe being outside of the immigration facility in New Jersey. They had a very cool interview. Mm-hmm. It's interesting to hear about like guys that are outside those riots and protests and like all the different things that you wouldn't have thought about. Like when he said, you know, some guy kicked the dirt and all of a sudden the tear gas got kicked up and everybody was like back to wheezing. Yeah. Like I wouldn't have thought of that. And then we had a guy from Britain who had to remain anonymous. He runs the Twitter account Basil the Great. Yep. But it's a great Twitter account to follow for all your Britain happenings. And we talked about Henry Novak. But, I mean, that was kind of the gist. But then we really just went broad on is England lost.
So have you shown the Nowak audio or the video?
Yes.
You have. So I'm gonna show it on TV here.
Well, and there's moments in the body cam footage where they like go to pick him up. Like there are two police officers pulling his arms, and you can see his body is already like limp.
Yes, they put a man bleeding to death in handcuffs,
ice cold.
And the dude actually said, "Well, let me play real quick before I get all excited."
What's happened to you? All right? You've been stabbed. You've been stabbed. Whereabouts? I don't think you have, mate.
That's what. And then you've got nothing. I want to keep you up.
That's the sound of handcuffs going onto a bleeding man.
I've been stabbed. Don't think you have, mate.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Hand. I can't breathe. Put the hand in the cuff, mate. Yeah.
Says he can't breathe.
Can't breathe.
Like it is shocking to me as I watch this. You got all these people around him, and clearly he's bleeding, and he can't breathe, and he's in distress.
Saying he's been stabbed. So
Where
let's
is it
just
you
check
think
him.
you've been stabbed? In the face? Oh no, but we have to check, don't we?
No.
In the face?
Just get these back off. Get their details and that, and I'll keep hold of him.
Please, brother, I can't breathe.
Should we?
Right, keep you on your side, mate. You better retrieve then. Saying to him, keeping him on his side.
How did they not see the blood?
It was pooling underneath him, and he was ice cold. I mean,
What's your
white,
name, mate?
pale white.
At the moment, you are under arrest. That's for assault, so you do not have to say anything. May harm in defence. If you do not mention when questioned, it's up to which you later line of court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. All right?
Yeah. Okay. Sure. I'm bleeding to death, but thank you for reading me my rights.
Yep.
And what did they arrest him for?
A racial hate crime.
So,
and the other important distinction here is the guy that stabbed him, whose mother removed the murder weapon from the scene, and whose brother made the 999, aka the 911 call, saying that there was a racial attack. There was no handcuffs ever distributed for those individuals.
Yeah.
So Vikram Digwa, the guy who stabbed him, he was never placed in handcuffs ever. Even down at the police station. At the police station, they walked him to the cafeteria so he could pick his own food.
Yeah.
Because of religious exemptions.
Yeah.
But there was an update over the weekend. Did you hear this?
I know that J.D. Vance talked about it.
So outside of Vance, Vikram Digwa, I've seen reports, and I haven't confirmed it yet, but there's reports and rumors that he's been attacked in prison.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Good.
That's what I felt too.
Yeah. I hope he. Well, how is he doing?
I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? I don't care if he lives or dies, this guy.
I don't either.
He lies to the police saying that he was the victim of a racist hate crime and all that kind of stuff. And for me, whatever. Whatever, dude.
I'm with you.
So J.D. Vance then, over the weekend, he came out and he said what? What did he say?
Henry Novak died the same way a civilization dies, abandoned, handcuffed by authorities who neither trusted nor cared for him, and accused of hate crimes he did not commit. His murder is as tragic as it is enraging. He should still be alive today, and he would be if the last few generations of European elites had stood their ground against the politics of self-hatred and mass invasion of migrants, many of whom despise the West and the people who love it. Henry was far from the first to so needlessly lose his life, and I fear he won't be the last. Each time a life like this is lost, the proper response, the only response, is righteous anger. One of the most important things the Trump administration has proven to the world is stopping the flow of mass migration and defending national sovereignty is a matter of political will and leadership. Anything else is an excuse. It is because we love the West that we want to preserve it. We love our civilization. We love our country. We love our children. And nobody should ever die the way that Henry Novak died. May God comfort those who loved him, and may God rest his soul.
Did you hear what his father had to say about that?
What's that?
Not in response to Vance, but this was as people were starting to pour into the streets following the release of the body cam footage. His father had this to say.
Henry did nothing wrong. He was one of the kindest, friendliest, and most inclusive people you could ever hope to meet. We want to use Henry's heartbreaking story to make change for the better. Finally, I want Henry to know, wherever he is, we are so proud of him and we love him beyond words.
His father doesn't want people to make it political. His father also highlighted knife crime in his big press conference. I feel like you could attack him, and people have online. I'm not going to do that, but it's just the reason we have the body cam footage is Henry Novak's father. On the J.D. Vance side, you make this statement on June 5th. Are you just scoring cheap political points at this time? Where were you as this story was developing?
This
months
happened
ago?
in, was it December?
December 3rd, 2025.
December 3rd of 2025.
Are you just scoring political points? Is that a layup drill for the comms team of the vice president? Because I'm not even particularly pointing at the vice president. He has a team that is helping him do this stuff.
Right.
Is that cheap political points?
Is it playing devil's advocate? Is it possible that because they've now had the massive protests that have been going on in the UK over this, that now it has bubbled up to J.D. Vance's level?
Like it just reached critical mass, so now he's kind of. I mean, that's very possible.
But see, you bring up a great point, which is because it is horrifying. So had he spoken about it earlier, then maybe it would have reached critical mass earlier. And by the way, there's people here. I want to play this. I got video real quick. This is the average sentiment of people in the UK.
When it was a black man, George Floyd, who was killed by a police officer, well, he wasn't, was he? Because there was enough fentanyl in his system to kill a horse. The whole world went wild. There were international riots. It was all over the news. But when it's a white boy on UK soil who's stabbed 3 times by a foreign man and is then handcuffed and left to bleed to death in the street because he was racist, apparently, nothing. Absolutely nothing. People should be furious about this.
And people are furious about
it. Yeah, people should be mad.
Yeah. So, yeah, one of the members of I don't know if it's the Parliament, whatever, UK, but some politician out there actually came out and essentially told J.D. Vance to shut up and that he disagrees with J.D. Vance. Late or not, which is a valid take, but you can't disagree with what J.D. Vance said. I mean, day late, dollar short, perhaps, but where is he wrong?
He's not.
He's not wrong at all.
No.
This is what is, and here's the thing, is that it's not just Henry. I mean, there have been knife attacks going on in the UK for the last, since all these Syrian refugees came flooding into Europe. So, and that continues to this day.
And one of the things I asked in my interview Friday with this guy from England who doesn't want he needed to remain anonymous because he doesn't want to visit from the state. I was like, is this the tipping point? And he goes, well, I thought the bombing outside the Ariana Grande concert would be the tipping point.
Yes.
Well, I thought those girls getting stabbed at a dance class was going to be the tipping point. And then he listed off about 4 or 5 other murders that I had never even heard of. And he's like, I thought this was going to be the tipping point, and this one, and this one, and this one. He's like, so I've kind of lost a little bit of hope here.
Do you remember I played the audio a while ago of there is a woman, it may have been in response to this, but I don't remember now. It's quite some time ago. But she called up a local UK radio show, television show, whatever it was. But she was crying and she was scared literally to go outside because of all of the knife attacks and the rapes that are happening in the UK. Remember that, Joan?
Yeah, that was that. I felt so bad for that woman. I mean,
it was just an elderly woman, right?
Yeah.
I don't think she was she
I
elder?
thought she was older.
Yeah?
Yeah, and she said that she had some elderly friends that got stabbed doing nothing. They didn't do anything wrong. And then, people were just being stabbed.
And you got the grooming gangs. I mean, we don't need to go on. We all know what's happening in the UK. And for anyone in the UK to come out against our vice president saying, oh, you're wrong, BS.
Well, and now these problems are, I mean, they're there to stay. Because Digwa, the murderer in this case, was born in the UK.
Yeah.
So he's quintessentially British.
Well, and you talked about, okay, so is this guy British or like what do you classify him as? He was a first generation born in that family?
Yes, exactly. So his mother, the one who hid the murder weapon, she wasn't from the country. She came in.
So when one of the, I mean, you know Kathy Hinders. I love Kathy.
Yep.
She's an expert on this stuff. She has always said, beware of the first generation born in this country or like in Ukraine. So, or I should say the UK. So you got, people that come into our country, a couple of people from Pakistan come into this country, a man and a woman. They come here on some visa program, whatever. They have a son. That son has grown up in a household hating America. And so now you have a American who is doing horrific things to Americans. And we're going to see that more and more and more. And we're certainly seeing that in the UK. This guy is an example.
In Henry Novak's case, the guy was a Sikh. But I mean, in a lot of what we're talking about, we have to understand that these kind of cultures think the long game.
Oh, yeah.
They're not worried about 2 and 4 year cycles like we are here in America. They're worried about winning a 100-year religious war. They're definitely thinking the long game.
Didn't he use his kirpan to his religious?
Yes. Well, and that's another important thing to point out. This is a religious weapon, right? And you're allowed to hold. No, they're not allowed to scourge of knife crime.
Yeah.
But you can't. This is the Basil the Great guy tweeted this out. He's like, you can't get on the plane in London with a jar of Nutella that's too large because it might be dangerous. But that Sikh is allowed to bring a knife. And before you think that we're in an ivory tower here, there are already school districts in America that are allowing Sikhs to bring in knives because it's a religious right. So there could be a kid in your school who is armed with a knife.
Yeah. And I can just say, you know what? I'm a bad guy and I'm going to do bad things. I'm just going to tell people that I'm Sikh so that I can carry around this 8-inch knife.
Yep.
This 8-inch, if I remember right, they're jagged knives, not that necessarily
got a curve on the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a growing online movement in the UK calling for British men to be allowed to carry the Enfield rifle as a culturally and historically significant symbol, mirroring the exception to the Criminal Justice Act of 1988 that the Sikhs have curved around.
Yeah. You know what? They should do that. They should be allowed to do that because people need to protect, like people that are from the UK, they need to be able to protect themselves. They need to protect their families. They need to protect the women. Because clearly, Keir Starmer and the government of the United Kingdom and the law enforcement officers are refusing to help the people there.
Yep.
You can be literally bleeding to death on the ground, can't breathe, and they'll put you in handcuffs at the very thought that you said something racist.
Yep.
It is unbelievable. By the way, this is what J.D. Vance did say. This was a couple weeks ago.
So to everybody in the UK who rejects that idea, I'd encourage them to just keep on going. It's okay to want to defend your culture. It's okay to want to live in a safe neighborhood. It's okay to want your job to go to yourself and your neighbors and not to a stranger who you don't even know. It is reasonable for the people in Western societies to want to control who comes into their country and who doesn't.
And it makes sense. You know,
he's 100% right.
Yeah.
He has been right on what's going on in Europe for a very long time.
Remember, he went, where was he? He did a speech, was it last year?
Wasn't it in Germany?
It was in Germany, and I forget.
The security conference?
Munich Security Conference. I think you're right there, Sam. And he was spot on. And he was talking about just that, which is the fact that their culture is just disintegrating in front of their eyes, and they're letting it happen.
Yep.
It is the most... It's almost bizarro world, what they're allowing to happen.
Well, and it's because of the control over the media, not just the media, but the social media. And there's actually a lot of people are wondering what's going on with Henry Novak's sister, because she was posting a lot of videos of like her and Henry having a good time and showing him like enjoying life and dancing and doing all these things that any normal kid would do. And then they've mysteriously disappeared from her timeline.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So now,
people are wondering if the state is interfering with her social media posts because they don't want unrest.
It wouldn't surprise me. Would that surprise you?
No.
That they forced her to take it down, or they just go in and take it down?
And it's not like she's calling for violence. She's like, this is my brother. I loved him.
Yeah. But they will say, the Keir Starmer and the UK government in the thought police there will say, well, yeah, but just by posting how wonderful of a person he is, that will provoke more violence because it was such a senseless act.
Yep.
Too late.
Yeah.
There's movements popping up, people posting in Spain. And unfortunately, it's turning into a white lives matter type of...
There was a march in Germany over the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. This is racism against white people in their homelands.
Yeah. And it's clear that the governments of these nations, they don't care about the people who, granted, this guy was born in the UK, but they don't care about the culture of their nation.
Well,
they just don't.
And I think that it's important to point out, like, that's a very American thing, that anybody can become American. That you can't just become British. It doesn't work like that. Like, the Brits are a people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and like we have to acknowledge that and respect that the same way we would acknowledge, like, I can't move to the Congolese and have my kids, if they were born there, be treated as natives.
Well, can we also be honest that people that come to these nations, as well as come to our nation, they don't necessarily want to be part of our culture. They want to take over our culture.
Well, and this is one of the things that I talked about on Friday with Basil. He said, in these neighborhoods in London, they're enclaves. They're not assimilating to British culture.
No,
they're staying uniquely themselves inside the neighborhoods that they're taking over.
Yeah, and then they turn into no-go zones.
Yep, exactly.
All right, there you go. Well, this was a fun segment.
Well, I mean, we could have.
Joan, thanks for chiming in.
Hey, no problem.
Thanks, Joan.
Yeah.
Well, we had to suffice the people that go, isn't there any real news going on?
Yeah, we hear that all the time. We hear that all the time. Hey, Chris.
Dan.
Yes or no, do you like the Nashville Zoo?
Yes.
Okay. Take the kids to the zoo?
Every now and again.
Are you concerned about the data center?
No.
You're not concerned about it?
I think it's going to get shut down.
You want the animals to die? Is that what it is?
I don't care.
You want them to go
animals.
blind and deaf because they're dealing with all of the... You ever heard of data center, Chris? Do you know what the clouded leopard is going to go through?
Oh, that's what it was. I was like, what are you worried about, the snow leopard, Dan? No, I don't.
No, this is the clouded leopard.
I think it's going to get shut down. I don't think it. I think it's dead in the water. I will tell you what.
Wait, that requires Freddie O'Connor to have a backbone.
Well, we'll see. You want to know my favorite memory is from the Nashville Zoo? So we were there, and it was like post-COVID. Everything was kind of starting to open up, but people were still yelling at us to wear our masks. And we weren't wearing masks because we're free people.
Sure.
But I remember seeing a kid who was maybe 25. I say kid, he had Down syndrome, and he was wearing a mask. And I watched him blow his nose in his mask and continue wearing it. And I thought to myself, this is why we don't need to be having masks on.
Oh, that's nasty.
It's awful.
on that note, Joan, what's coming up in the news?
Yeah. The hostilities in the Middle East are on hold for now. We'll tell you what the catalyst was behind the ceasefire. It's coming up here at 9 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Think of Joan, 856, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Window Nation. Listen, if your air conditioning never stops and if your electricity bills are really high, you've got to check out my friends at Window Nation, because more than likely you have windows that are not energy efficient. Window Nation can help you. The pros at Window Nation can help you get new energy-efficient windows at a great price. Right now, buy 4 windows, get 4 free sale. That is going on right now, courtesy of my friends at Window Nation. Buy 4 windows, get 4 free. You could literally replace all the windows in your home and get half of those windows for free. You can also get 0 down payment and no payments or interest for 2 years. Check them out, windownation.com. This sale is going to end soon. Schedule a fast and free consultation right now at windownation.com. Don't forget that great sale. Buy 4 windows, get 4 free. That sale going on right now. 0 down payment and no payments or interest for 2 years. Find them online. It's windownation.com, windownation.com. Window Nation is a proud partner of the Wounded Warrior Project.